to another episode of DCU Daily and Also Curious. Different background for me today, but we're gonna have a good show. We got off to a little bit of a late start tonight because we're having some technical issues. There were, some life happens as it does, without going into specifics. But and yeah, John and I had to kind of like get our stuff together and get into it. So here we are, and we're gonna talk about a ton today. We have, as you can probably see on the thumbnail, we're gonna talk about the Batman 2. There was a rumor for like a new supposed deadline for when Matt Reeves would submit the script for the Batman 2. Was that true? Well, James can finally address it, so we'll talk about that. We also have a new Fear Factor reboot happening over on Fox. I know most of you guys don't care about it, but we'll talk about it anyway in the quick hits. James Gunn did actually answer a number of different fan questions on his long-ass flight from the Philippines to Brazil, so we will talk about all the things that he told us, including, of course, he apparently was at one point shooting Peacemaker and Superman like two sets, like on two sound stages across from each other practically on the same lot. So how does that work? I mean, it's kind of like what Marvel does a lot, like when they were doing the thing with Samuel L. Jackson with a Secret Invasion, and then his role in the Marvels, they were filming simultaneously, like the same time and like on the same lot, and so he could go back and forth. So I guess James Gunn again learning those lessons from Marvel and bringing those over to DC. And then we have a lot more Superman marketing, of course, as per always. There's another Rachel Brosnahan cover photo shoot we're gonna get into, and more Superman information, including the fact that they're starting to really advertise the IMAX release as well now. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the weekend box office, where Elio set a new low for Pixar at the box office opening weekend. I mean, we talked about how the numbers weren't looking good going into the weekend, coming out the weekend. They might be even worse than we thought they would be. So we'll get into that, and of course, we can't not talk about, even though Liz is on tomorrow, and we'll bring it back up for her to answer, but we do have to get into the fact that the next Spider-Man movie might just have gotten a little more rated R with the addition of John Bernthal, aka the Punisher. So let's do that and so much more, and in order to do that, let's hit that news intro and get the show started. It doesn't seem to matter what I do. Number 2.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, well, I was just checking out the chat while the intro was running, because we have a lot of you guys today. Oh my god, the chat was booming before even showtime. So we'll welcome most of you guys in as we get the show started. But of course,
maybe we should be late more often.
Maybe it builds the anticipation. And speaking of the voice shoot here, let's show the face. With me today, as always, I've got John. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. I have a chocolate bar, so I'm very good. So, I finally bit the bullet and tried the Tony's chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that was like, oh my god, it's like the greatest thing ever. So I tried. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice. It looks like a bunch of you guys just came in early for no reason, which is, that's great. Have a conversation. You know what? We'll talk about that. Press screenings for Superman are this week, says Jose. Yeah, that's crazy. We are literally getting that close, right? So we're gonna start to hopefully see some reviews come in. The fact that they're doing it this early is crazy, because that means they're really, really, confident in the movie. The fact that they've been showing the first 30 minutes everywhere, we're getting all kinds of reactions online. We have some more insights from that we might dive into later in the show. Hint, hint. We will not get into spoiler territory. Don't you worry. We will definitely, put that filter in there for you guys. Liz is on with us, I believe the next couple of days, right, John? Liz is going to be here talking about
I think tomorrow and either Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. Well, and Jose, we're gonna talk plenty of DC, by the way. So yeah, Liz is gonna be here for quite a few shows, and then yeah, we'll see if we can bring Bridget in this week as well. So we've got a packed week. I'm sure we're gonna have to get into a whole hell of a lot of stuff. Maverick was here as well. I don't know if you're still watching. I mean, Jordan was here. We got Elite Easy in the chat. Jose, I mentioned already. Enterprising Nelson is here. Thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate that you stop by and you give us, fantastic questions and comments too. We will definitely bring those in for the later on in the week as well. Kim Milano, I don't know if you've seen Kim in the chat before, but where's Bridget? Well, Bridget will be back on the show hopefully later in the week. We will definitely be bringing Bridget back. But thank you and welcome on in, Kim, into the chat. I don't know if I've seen you before, unless you were a regular and logging on from a different account. That happens sometimes. But if you are new or if you haven't been commenting before, then welcome on in. Exactly. All right, there we go. The Philippine stuff and a promo for Taiwan. Yep, we have a new promo that we want to dive into to show some new footage with Superman's fight with the kaiju. So we'll talk about that. And hello from Canada. Kim is in Canada. Hello, hello, hello. I did believe Ron is not here right now, but Ron also usually is in the chat, and he's from Canada as well. John is telling me my volume is pretty low. I don't know, guys. Can you hear me very well? I mean, John, what do you think? Is it better?
It's kind of low.
It's still kind of low? Okay. What are we gonna do about that? How about now? Is that any better? Is that improving for you?
Well, we'll see what the chat says.
Yeah, guys, let me know in the chat. Am I still coming in really low, or I mean, maybe I'm just whispering. Who knows? Maybe I'm throwing you guys off. Probably not. But okay. All right, let's start the show off, shall we? So the first thing that I wanted to get into today, John, is the box office report. So I mentioned before that Pixar's Elio was going into the weekend and it wasn't looking good. We did a comparison last week and we looked at the charts for opening weekends for all Pixar movies, and essentially, when we looked at the numbers, I believe Elio was coming in and like lower than every movie but like the first Toy Story, right? Or even, I mean, that was a projections. It was gonna do worse than every Pixar movie did in opening, except for the original Toy Story, aka the very first movie Pixar ever put
We'll
out.
get into that soon.
So, but you know what? It looks like Elio came in even lower than the original Pixar, Toy Story movie did. So here we go, John. Elio limps to a record low $21 million Pixar opening as How to Train Your Dragon easily stays number one. The live-action dragon pick also devoured Danny Boyle's, of course, zombie sequel 28 years later, which was expected. We didn't think that it was going to beat out How to Train Your Dragon, but, it did quite well for itself, but not enough to get the number one spot. It opened to second.
I don't, Enterprising. None of the trailers were impressive, and pretty much all my friends who saw the movie were like, yeah, it's predictable. Like, literally a buddy of mine just watched it, and he's like, I just watched it and I couldn't tell you what happens in the movie, because he's just like, this should not be a Pixar movie. This should be a Pixar knockoff direct to DVD slop with how this is. He's like, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just like painfully generic and not the caliber of what Pixar should be. Again, those are just from the people who saw the movie, not myself. So who knows? But
well, I mean, also worldwide, you look at the numbers. It only got 35 million, which is crazy to think about. Like, it did worse internationally than it did domestically. I mean, this is a Pixar movie we're talking about. And then 28 years later, on the other end, did pretty much the same amount of money abroad as it did domestically. It did around 30 million domestic, 30 million abroad, and you put those numbers together, you get 60 million. Pixar just really, I mean, craters is a very accurate description, and we will get into more of a post-mortem about why that happened, and we have some insights that that all the big industry trades are putting out. So we'll talk about like in detail, because we have a review for Elio tomorrow on the show. And so, John, you mentioned Liz is on tomorrow, right? I think Liz is.
I believe so. Yes. I think.
And she has seen Elio, so like she can give us a better idea of, again, in her opinion, why it didn't work, and we'll dive into more of the reasons. But just to kind of go through where things stand today, This is the chart from the Hollywood Reporter with the domestic opening, the domestic weekend gross from this past weekend. So you have How to Train Your Dragon came in at 36.5 million, 28 years later with 30 million, and then Elio 20.8. These are actuals. So the 21 million was a bit of an estimate. Now, once the actuals came out, which are confirmed, verified numbers, it didn't even get to 21 million. And you look at the number of theaters it's in, 28 years later is in like several hundred more theaters or less theaters and did more, like almost 10 million more.
Yeah.
So it's kind
It's
of
just
crazy.
like, but the thing is, I'm not shocked. It's like, you're telling me that the movie that was barely marketed and that was gonna be premiering a week or two after fucking How to Train Your Dragon was destined to fail? That's shocking. But what's even more hilarious is, well, two things. One is that it got throttled by a rated R zombie movie to which was a sequel to a movie from 18 years ago. This franchise has not been relevant for people that can go to college now. Like, if you were born like the year that 28 Weeks Later came out, you could be going to college right now and you would be able to see the movie, see 28 Years Later. So it's like the fact that it got throttled by that. How to Train Your Dragon is not surprising because both are like family movies, but like from a rated R movie to a sequel that hasn't been relevant in almost 20 years also killed it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and it's also, I feel like this is a history is doomed to repeat itself because even though I know Pixar is technically a company from Disney, but it's still owned by Disney. Disney literally did the same goddamn thing with Treasure Planet all the way back in 2002. Like, the same exact thing happened. They wanted, although during Treasure Planet, it was, it was a big 2D animated movie, but Pixar was on the rise, and Disney distributed Pixar movies, but they didn't own them yet. So CGI movies were on the rise, and they were developing Treasure Planet, and then 2001 hits. What's the movie that comes out in 2001 that becomes the highest grossing animated movie of all time? Shrek. So in addition to that, and Disney wanting to make, now pretty much wanting to make CGI animated films, they did not market Treasure Planet. It was a box office bomb, and they claimed, oh, yep, 2D animation's dead now, so we're just going to shit out the rest of our 2D animated movies and then move on to CGI animated. And then that's the reason why it failed. It's like, and now I feel like they're doing the same damn thing with Elio, because Elio is, for the most part, it's tropey and cliched from what I've seen of it, but it's for the most part an original movie, and they didn't market it. They didn't give a shit about it. They shit it out the second weekend that How to Train Your Dragon was out, and now they're going to say, oh, see, look, nobody wants to see original movies now. Meanwhile, we're going to make Toy Story 17 for the next 20 years from now. We're just going to keep pumping out Toy Story and Incredibles and all these other Inside Out sequels, and because clearly people don't want to see original movies when it was like destined to fail because Disney wants it to go a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Pixar, like one of you guys mentioned in the chat, they've been wanting to focus more on originals, but this is the thing where if people don't go see it, then they won't make more. Like, they will do 5 Incredibles movies instead because, they seem to make $1 billion every time. So it is interesting. There's a multitude of reasons why the movie didn't do as well as it could have. I think marketing, like you said, is a big one. The fact that it wasn't anything that particularly stood out. I think as far as animation styles go, we're living in a time where that's, Into the Spider-Verse, kind of completely changed the game for, how, animated movies are made, and like to break out of that Pixar style, the house style that they set up, which was the industry standard for so many years. And Pixar has sort of struggled to adapt to it in many ways, and then again, you gotta, when you do an original story, it's gonna have to be a situation. Sorry, ladies, you're making me laugh with that, but it has to be a story that really stands out. Like, I feel like this movie, from all the reviews I'm reading and the reactions people have, it's like, it's a good Pixar movie. It's not gonna like be arch. It's not gonna change your perspective on life. It's not gonna give you some new insight. But you know what? That's a high bar to expect that from any movie. But you know what? That's the bar that Pixar had for so many years. And when you set that bar and that's that expectation, and then when you look at how, I think in the one, let me see if I can pull up this article. The other Hollywood Reporter article points out, like, look, the Elemental opening was disastrous. Like, what they did with that was considered terrible because that opened to the worst opening since, the original Toy Story in 1995, which was Pixar's very first movie, and that was, around the time when Disney was finally putting Pixar movies back in theaters after releasing them directly to Disney Plus. And now here we are with, Elio, and it seems like people just don't have that same trust in Pixar anymore for quality. And I think that's one of those things, right, John, where we talk about, like, you can spend a million years earning people's trust and break it with one, bad move, do one thing, and that trust could be just shattered. And I feel like just that trust, that quality that Pixar was known for is just not quite there. It's similar in some ways to the MCU, although I think Pixar's bar was even higher than the MCU for quality. And it just feels like now, whether it's John Lasseter leaving, like Manolo pointing out, or other factors,
Yeah.
could it be the rise of anime? I mean, I'm sure that's definitely not helping because it's more competition, right? And like different animation
Well, I
styles,
think
and it's just Pixar just feels like they're doing the same
Well,
thing.
here's the thing. People can watch anime at home. They have Crunchyroll. They can, ride the high seas. They can pretty much, it's been proven through studies and, asking people that Gen Z isn't really interested in this sort of thing. And even though this is more Gen Alpha, because that's like the kids now is Gen Alpha. But even then, like, millennials kind of grew up with this, so they're kind of stagnant. But it's like millennials and Gen Alphas, like the parents of millennials and their kids of Gen Alphas, are going to see this, but it's like not quite enough. And then you're also missing like Gen Z, because millennials were going to see these movies when they were, in their teens and 20s, because they loved Pixar because they grew up with them. Gen Z, sure, they grew up with them, but they're like, I can watch anything. Like YouTube is a big thing. We've talked about this. Is YouTube and anime are the big things because you can watch that at home for not either for free. YouTube is free, and Crunchyroll is a huge service. And then on top of the fact, you can also see some anime films in theaters. Like there was the I know Dragon Slayer came out with a bunch of them, Suzume and all these other, like, either connected to anime shows or films, but it's just like they're not interested in, like, Western animation is, I wouldn't say it's dying, but it's like it's not nearly at the height as it is, because it's like they realize that these companies just don't care. They're going to pump out crap. So they're like, okay, let's go. And on top of the fact, in Western circles and Western like companies, they don't value animation. Literally, the entire country of Japan values their animation wholeheartedly. Hell, even China. Look at Ninja 2. That is now, if like we're to believe, the highest grossing animated film of all time. And that came up from like Kung Fu Panda being so good. China was like, wait, fucking Western audience, Western people made a fucking better Chinese mythology movie than we could. We got to fix this shit. And you know what? They fucking did. So now they're like pumping out great films that people will see. Japan values animation so much more than Western will ever do. Like, it's become like a running gag at the Academy Awards. Okay, when are we going to get the fucking joke that like animation is for kids and not valued at all? When are we getting that joke again? Because it's like, that's the thing now. It's like, oh, who let their kids fucking vote for the Oscars this year? Or like, oh, dumbass kids will just watch shitty animated movies over and over and over again. And it's just like, yeah, it's like, wow, the people that see this see that this country does not value animation. Well, they're going to go to somewhere else that does and have enriched stories that are made, because, like, again, anime is not a style. It's an art form. It's a different style of animation. So they will, there's literally like the broadest mainstream stuff to the weirdest fucking niche. You can find it in anime, so they'll go find it there. Meanwhile, nobody here cares about animation. They only see it as profit. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's, I will say though, like, to Pixar's credit, not everything has been bad. They're just
not everything.
They've been struggling though, because I mean, you look at their originals. it's Elemental was great, and I think people discovered it. Like Turning Red became hugely popular once
Inside
it
Out
hit Disney
2.
Plus. Inside Out 2, I mean that was a sequel, so you wouldn't really call it an original, but they
Oh,
did
okay.
they did a
You're
good
talking about,
job.
I thought you were talking
Right,
about in
right, right.
general.
I mean, but in general, yes, and Pixar is still doing well. We talked about just the other day, like they found the director for the Incredibles 3, and he just worked on what was it? Was he did he work on
Elemental.
Elemental? Elemental.
Yeah.
So like, they still have a lot of very talented people there, and including the folks that made Pixar, who what it is today. Granted, like John Lasseter is over at Skydance Animation now and not at Pixar, but like and then in general for animation, you still have Illumination Entertainment, DreamWorks Animation working on all the Shrek movies and stuff. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it just doesn't bode well that Elio came in so low. And again, we'll dive into even more reasons. We will talk about the movie itself, how good or bad it was. We'll have Liz review it, and then we'll do more of a post-mortem. But like for the time being, yeah, it's not good. Definitely not good. 21 million domestic, not even 20.8 million domestic is the final number, and then coming in 35 million total worldwide. That is crazy low for a movie that probably cost them at least 150 million some odd to make. And when you look at 28 years later, on the other hand, I mean, Bane will break you just came into the chat, hello, saying, I heard there are zombie dongs, and 28 years later, the last thing you want is a zombie with his dong coming at you. So
Yeah.
yeah, 28 years later is doing really well. I mean, I think those numbers bode well for getting a trilogy completed for Danny Boyle, and we'll talk about that as well when Liz is on the show in the next couple of days to review the movie. And I think, John, did you saw 28 years later as well, right?
I did.
So we'll get into that. I mean, Hosea just watched 28 Days Later for the first time over the weekend, so you could watch it and in preparation for going to see 28 Years Later. And of course, they already have another sequel in the works for next year, so which is not the mainline sequel; it's more of like a spin-off, right? So like this franchise is branching off. And then I know some of you guys were talking about how Manolo just went and saw F1, had a great time, dude. I'm already getting tickets for that. And then Megan 2.0 is coming out as well. F1 isn't out yet in the US, but it is going to be releasing, I believe, this Thursday. So you could go but you might have an early screening, or depending on where you live in the world. And when I say it's not out yet, it's not out yet in the USA and North America. So it does come out for people living in the US and Canada later on this week on Thursday previews. You might be able to get an early screening. I don't know if they're doing a Tuesday screening. And then of course, it's officially out wide release on Friday, so you could definitely do that. But I mean, look, more experiments like Into the Spider-Verse or TMNT Mutant Mayhem. That's maybe what Pixar needs to do. Maybe they need to change up their house style of animation. I know they've sort of veered off of it a little bit and experimented a little bit. Like with Elio, even some of the artwork isn't quite what the traditional Pixar animation style used to be. But still, I feel like they need to do more. Like at this point in time, they just need to do more to stand out from the crowd. Because again, like you said, John, people have so many more options now. Anime is more accessible than ever. You have other movie studios, trying different animation styles, and yeah, I mean, well, the MCU, I don't know if they're gonna do a live action. I'm sorry, I don't think they're gonna do a feature length animated movie. They'll probably do more stuff on Disney Plus though. But yeah, Manolo giving us more of a review for F1, saying it's a great escapism. He just saw it in an early screening. That is awesome, man. I mean, we'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah, there's an advanced screening this Wednesday, by the way.
Perfect.
I just checked.
Dude, I might try to get that. I might try to get it. But like, hey, Manolo, you gotta like drop a comment with a longer review down below, because we would love to bring that back in later in the week when we are talking about the movie in more detail. But yeah, I mean, the box office, John, not surprised to see How to Train Your Dragon at the top again for what is like 3 weeks in a row now. 28 years later, doing quite well for itself. Elio, again, I mean, that movie should have done more. I don't care if it did more or less than How to Train Your Dragon. It just needed to do more than what it did now, because now this is the worst opening weekend box office for any Pixar movie that is not a re-release ever. So like in its original theatrical run, it's worse than Toy Story, which was the first movie that Pixar ever put out. So guys, let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. Were you surprised by the box office results from this weekend? Did you get a chance to see any of the movies, whether it was Elio, 28 Years Later, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch is still out there. It's still in the top 5. Let us know in the comments down below what you guys think about it. Kevin just dropped in the chat. He loves talking about box office, and he's saying that original films from Disney Disney people gonna wait to see them on Disney Plus. Sad to say this, Disney need to stick to with sequels and remakes right now because they make money at the box office. Yeah, you know what? That's also the thing. It's like, are people sending the wrong message to the folks, right, over at Disney? Like, if the original movies don't do well at the box office, they just will not make them. So, and people then complain,
Exactly.
you know, we're not getting originals anymore. So, you know, it's like it's our fault, and in a way, like if these are businesses, they will go where the public demand takes them. So let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the news with Elio, and if you think that, you know, it just was the fact that the movie was just not good enough, or if you went and saw 28 years later. We'd love to hear from you about that one as well, doing really well for itself. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out for your comments. But right now we have to move on to the next thing, John, which is, of course, we have to talk about Superman. As always, we've got more Superman, you know, merch. We've got more news from James Gunn. I know later in the show we're talking about how they're currently in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, you know, as Dom would like to say. Hello, Steven in the chat. Hello, Hunter Iggy in the chat. Liz is not here today, Hunter, but like Liz will be back later in the week. Oh yeah, Steven, I'm here sometimes, every once in a while. You know, I'm here. This is like my backup studio. So yeah, this is not, I'm not at my usual locale, as it were. But yes, a truly new, never done fairy tale. You know what, Enterprising? That's a good idea. Disney should do that. But I guess it would depend on, again, good storytelling, right? So, and we're getting more of the review from Manolo there. Everything is Superman. You know what? That's a perfect transition to what we want to talk about here, John, which is more Superman. So the very first thing I wanted to dive into Superman related on the show today is this French magazine cover, L'Écran Fantastique reboot. Superman on the cover of L'Écran Fantastique, a French magazine. You can see some of the artwork that we have seen before, that Lex pose we have seen before, the Lois Lane. That's a slightly different variation of the Superman pose. What do you think about this cover of all the different marketing things we have seen so far?
We didn't get a full. I remember seeing this, I think last week, but we didn't get like there wasn't like there was kind of like a grainy ass image of like half the cover, but we did get a full cover of this. So yeah, this looks great. Love it.
I love it too. I actually think this is.
They are indeed aura farming, as the kids would say.
When Gunn and Saffron are out of their office, who's approving scripts? I think they have email, and they can do that on the go. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Yeah, there's these things called like smartphones, and you could have like a lot of things on here, and you could communicate via text.
How do you think
email
James is answering all these questions when he's on these 14-hour flights from Philippines to Brazil? Like, he's sat there on his phone answering all the threads.
And he's probably catching up on fucking sleep,
as he should. And you know what? Bridget and Liz both are going to be on the show later this week, Steven. So don't you worry. As I mentioned before, we'll have Liz on for a couple of days this week, and then we'll see if we can bring Bridget back in for later in the week. You know, Amazon did for Superman, and John and I both have early screenings for July 8th. I believe earlier we were talking about F1 early screenings. Manolo just saw an early screening. Actually, here you go, Manolo. You're the one asking. So yeah, I mean, you saw an early screening of that. But yes, Amazon has an early screening exclusive.
They saw F1 in IMAX. Goddamn.
Dude, that is the way to see it. That is the way to see it. But yeah, Amazon Prime Premiere screenings, they call it. So if you're a Amazon Prime member, you can go see Superman early on July 8th. This is in the US. I don't believe they're doing this abroad, not even in Canada, which is kind of interesting. But there's still a lot of other countries. A lot of you guys have been telling us in the chat, you already have your early screenings booked. And they might be like a day earlier than even what we're getting in the US. So yeah. I mean, okay, Elite Easy, but they can easily just print the damn thing off, like, locally, and... Okay. Alright, just kidding. Okay, I get it. Alright, you're playing around. That's good. That's good. 10,000 flights will give you such a crick in the neck. Yeah, you know what? That's probably what James Gunn will have once he's done with the Superman tour. But this is a great, cover. This is not the only magazine cover we'll talk about today. The next thing I wanted to get into, John, is James Gunn posted yesterday this photo from one of the sound stages when they were filming. It looks like both Superman and Peacemaker, because you've got, of course, Lois Lane and Clark Kent, but then you also have two characters, including Steve Agee there on the right from, what's this character that he plays? John Economos, right? I don't
Hmm.
know who Tim Meadows is playing in Peacemaker, what his character name is yet, but
He's like just playing another Argus agent. I forget the
Argus Age. Well,
specific
we'll find
character
out what
name.
his name is. Maybe we'll call him Bob for now. So you got Bob, you've got Clark, you've got James, you've got Lois, and you've got John, Economos. So James gonna say some of my favorite days on set were when we had Superman on one soundstage and Peacemaker on another, and I could run back and forth between takes. It really felt like we were building a universe. This was a day when Tim Meadows and Steve G from Peacemaker visited the set of Superman. So I mentioned earlier at the top of the show how this is kind of similar to when Sam Jackson was filming both The Marvels and Secret Invasion. And I'm sure that's not the only instance that's happened where obviously studios try to go for efficiency from a business standpoint. You want to save money. And, they have these sound stages on the same studio lot. So filming on the same lot across from each other on two different sound stages, especially when you have somebody like James Gunn, who's very heavily involved in the production of Peacemaker. He wrote all the episodes. He directed like a good chunk of them, and he's done a lot of the post production. And of course, he's the director of Superman. So, John, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this promotes the synergy that James Gunn is talking about? How again, it's all part of the same universe. So this really kind of drives home that sense of connectedness that they're trying to establish.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of that. Like it's all as Kronk would say, it's all coming together. So honestly, love to see it, and it's just like all blending in, and Tim Meadows, legend, Steve G, a guy that is been in a couple of good things, but so yeah, I think this is
That's the
great to
best you can
see.
do.
Absolutely
You
fun,
know
and then
what?
of course, all the people are going to be like,
Yeah.
looking at all the, what does it mean? What does it mean? And then and then like Jeff Snyder is
Yeah.
going to look at this image for 2 seconds, and then he's going to say, oh, the guy back in the left, that's Brainiac, and then he's going to say, oh, Brainiac is going to be in the Superman sequel because this guy in the background of this image is
I don't think there's much to read into this because, well, it looks like Lois and, well, I keep saying Lois, Rachel Brosnahan and David Cornsweet are both in costume. The other two actors are clearly not. So they either wrapped or were about to go film and they showed up on set. So, yeah, you definitely can tell that two of those actors are ready to be on camera. The other two are not. Why is Jose asking me about Aladdin? Can I
no,
can't really
because
say
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck. They were
I see.
commenting on and
Okay.
Enterprising's.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. You know what? I'm not gonna test that theory. I probably can sing, but today's not a good day for me to do that. I haven't really worked my vocal cords, so and it's hard enough to get through the show because like usually after the show I'm like I don't want to talk for the next 24 hours, and then the next show starts, and then I'm back to so it's like rest, talk, and rest your voice and repeat. But what costume? No, exactly. You are right. He does look like John Economos. Steve G and John Economos have a lot of commonalities in how they dress. But anyway, by the way, Aladdin is it's one of those live action remakes I didn't particularly like from Disney, even though Will Smith was great. Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. That's one if Pixar takes on and makes it into a good movie, I would take it. I've read the original book, and I've read it in Urdu, Arabic, and English. So there you go. So not the appropriated versions. I read the original stuff. But anyway, let's get back. Let's keep moving forward here, John. So we do have more stuff from James Gunn, but before we get into that, Rachel Brosnahan. Stunning again, this time for the German version of the Geek magazine. And I'm sure for all the geeks out there, this is one that you want to get off the stands as fast as you can, right, John?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to say anything. It's just it looks like a very good, very nice magazine. That's all. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. What do you want me to say?
No. Your reaction, I think, said it all. And I don't think I need to say anything else to that.
I just said it's nice. Why is this so crazy? I don't have to be horny all the time. I'm just saying it's a nice magazine.
It's not even what you said. It was like it's nice. Like that's the part. I'm like
didn't mean it like that. It's just I had to clear my throat. God damn.
All right. Okay. let's keep going, because this wasn't the only thing that they put out in the German geek magazine. They had Superman on the cover, and this was issue number 79 of the geek magazine. Of course, they also have Star Trek Strange New Worlds that they're talking about, Jurassic World, Dungeons and Dragon games, the Murder Bot, which actually that's a show by David Goyer, and we have something for on tomorrow's show about that, and as well as the Sandman. So that's a bit of a preview for tomorrow. But yeah, this cover looks nice, John. Like, here's a look at the full cover. So if you bought this, looks like it might be the front cover or the back cover, and then you have, of course, Rachel Brosnahan in there as well, and then of course you have a interview with Rachel Brosnahan. This is entirely in German, so I don't really know enough German to translate here. But if you guys want to pick up a copy and, I don't know, point your camera at it and like Google Translate it for you, you definitely could give it a shot and give it a read. It looks amazing. Again, John, what are your thoughts on the idea that they're doing so much local marketing, and then whether it's these cover shoots or interviews, or like obviously the Superman tour is hitting a lot of countries, but like, for example, they're not going to Germany on the tour, but they're doing this stuff locally here where you have a magazine cover interview as well as a photo shoot and everything. So Superman has a presence pretty much across the world. They are doing an amazing job of making sure every big country, every significant country to the release of this movie, they've got a presence there in some form or another. What do you think, John?
Yeah. Classic. I think you meant old school. Those vibes. Yeah, they corrected themselves. But yeah, I like how, I mean, I was saying this for a while. They are marketing the hell out of this internationally because, it's seems like the right way to go, showcasing that Superman isn't just for one group of people, it's for everyone. He loves us no matter what. He loves the world. As that famous, picture, it's like where he's out in space and he just says, "I love you. I'm so proud of you," to the whole world. So it's just like, it's the world for him. It's not just us. It's just everyone.
Yeah.
So, and they're really showcasing this, and Rachel Brosnahan doing all these magazine shoots, just being who she is, and that's cool too. But yeah, I love to see it. I love to see that they're really going for the international audience.
Love for that cover. Anyway, all right, moving on to the next thing, shall we? They put out this new promo for Superman, which shows a bit of footage that we haven't quite seen, like from the angle of Superman flying and fighting the kaiju monster. This, of course, is promoting Superman's release in IMAX, so bigger picture colors that soar, and you get more detail. Oh, and you see the start of the kiss before they fly up into the air. More of the fight scene, more of the superplex, more of a frustrated Lex Luthor with a few cracks in the dome. What do you think about this promo? Again, a few new shots or extended shots that we haven't seen before, and some people are loving the fight sequences. They look immersive. The camera movement is insane. It is giving us angles
Very
that we
dynamic.
quite frankly haven't seen before. Like, yeah, they're more dynamic than what we even got with Man of Steel, and people, I mean, that was a step up from any Superman movie before it, so this is taking it to the next level. And of course, it's not, it's got color, like you say, John. So like, what do you think?
Color, remember color, guys, not just blue. That's nice, right? Love to see it. But yeah, the flying shots are indeed bussin', Hosea. As the kids, they have that skibbity riz giat. Anyway, but yeah, I can't wait to see the building sequence and all that. I'm they're pretty much saying with all the footage that's been shown. I'm not gonna get into too much because I know we'll talk about that later, but they have been saying it's pretty much everything we've seen before, but now in context with proper setup and payoff. So yeah, we're gonna be I feel like the kaiju stuff, all this shit is gonna be in the first act of the damn movie, which is crazy, but really awesome.
And it just feels like Superman's flying is integrated with VFX in a way that's smoother, more photorealistic, and just made for the big screen in a way that we haven't seen before. And I can't wait to see what it turns out into ultimately when we get into the movie theater. But John, the other thing that James Gunn posted about over the weekend. In fact, this was earlier today, earlier on Monday. He posted this photo from the set of what we thought it was Baravia in the trailer, but apparently he said these are the Jahanpur kids, saying the Jahar let me say that again. The Jahanpur kids were the greatest, and you can see them dressed here. I think the kid in the orange shirt on the far right is the one with the flag in the trailer, if I'm correct.
I don't
Or
think
is that
so.
the
I
kid,
think he might be
or
a
is that the
different
kid in the
But you
middle?
can see
Like,
he's wearing the shirt that Rick Flag Jr. wore
oh
in the
yeah,
Suicide Squad.
okay, but it might be the oh yeah, somebody commented on it too. It might be the kid in the middle though. I think that might be the kid who was featured in that.
Yeah, I think it's the kid in the middle.
Okay, all right. Yes, I am very happy for Superman. Um, Hello, KC, saying I hate every live action DC movie except the Suicide Squad, so this will be good. There you go. Perfect. And welcome back
What
to
the
the
fuck
live
is
show,
wrong
KC.
with you?
You don't like the Dark Knight trilogy? I don't
Who hurt you?
know. Anyway, okay. But John, my question to you, Jarhanpur, have you ever heard of that before? Because that is a fictional country in DC lore, right? And we haven't really seen that in a
I
live
guess
action
I've
movie.
never heard of it before, but I haven't heard of like half of this. I've heard of Bialia, but that's about it. But it seems like one of these really old kind of. It's kind of like oh, what's the name
Well,
of Adam's secluded Kondak? It's like kind of like
Kondak,
Kondak, where it's like this
Kondak.
secluded
Oh,
sort
right,
of, not in
right.
fucking Black Adam movie where like, oh, it's just some random Middle Eastern city. No, it's like Kondak is
It was a
like
country.
it's kind of like Wakanda, where it's like
Yeah.
blocked from the rest of the world, and it's in like, but even more so where it's like kind of in its own bubble of time, where it's like not touched by like humans, for like millennia, where it's like you like Wakanda still exists in the present. It's just Kondak is like in like a time bubble almost, and that's, I think, just doing quick research, I think that's what this is as well. So
Well, here's what we have. I pulled up the wiki on Jahanpur, and it's a city. That's also goes by the living land. It looks like it's some kind of Middle Eastern mythic city that's existed for 3,000 years, or just not even a city, maybe just a land. I guess like a city state of some kind. And it's constituted as an absolute monarchy for the entire time. Rama Khan, there you go. There's a Khan involved, is the hereditary title of the ruler. This country is said by its inhabitants to be a living land. So this has got a whole, mythology behind it, and including in one of the comics that it's a part of, they help fix Wonder Woman's lasso of truth. So that's interesting. And Ramakant seems to be, I guess, their version of like like the monarch is also, I guess, takes a title of like kind of like the Black Panther, like the king of Wakanda or the queen of Wakanda becomes the Black Panther. So that's interesting because we kept saying that, whatever conflict is going on that Superman takes part in, and then causes the Secretary of Defense to get involved, and Superman gets arrested. It's something to do with Baravia because we have the Hammer of Baravia get involved. But maybe it was like it wasn't just an internal conflict. It was something between the country of Baravia and Jarhanpur. I mean, we're getting into all these fictional landscapes. The other thing that James Gunn did mention, which I believe we have later in the show, if not today, then we'll get into it tomorrow, the idea that there is no New York in this world. There's Gotham City, right? And then so James Gunn is like, this is a fictional world. It's not our Earth. We're not gonna have Gotham City and New York City. We're not gonna, have all of these like real places and
that's
fictional
good.
places. So he's clearly like choosing, what he's gonna have. So it seems like more and more of this is gonna be true, where he's bringing a lot of these comic book locations to life. Where I guess even in the past, like you look at the Arrowverse, you look at the Dark Knight trilogy, like they would always sort of mix and match and sort of get it, not really commit to the idea of like everything is fictionalized and you have real locations. So like for example in the Snyder cut, even they go to ancient Greece, right? Not ancient Greece, they go to Rome, right? The Parthenon. Like Wonder Woman goes there, sees the thing of dark side and stuff. So like, I mean, obviously you can't really do like everything is fictional. So there will be some real world locations, but I'm just, interested to see. Again, now we have all of these locations being introduced in this just one movie. Jarhanpur, you have Baravia, you have of course Metropolis, which is I forget what is a stand-in for, because if New York is Gotham is a stand-in for Gotham, sorry, for New York City, then I don't know if Metropolis is meant to be like something. It's meant to be in Delaware, right? Is it Delaware or Maryland?
Yes, in this continuity, yes.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting to
It
see
kind
how
of
it all plays out.
changes from like I know like Central City is like in the Midwest somewhere in some continuities, so it all kind of depends on where James Gunn wants to put them, or whatever director he picks.
Yep. Gamora Island in the Authority, yeah. Okay, so Delaware, yeah, right, okay. Patrick is here saying, speaking of Wakanda, I wonder if the economy will be affected in Wakanda now that vibranium isn't special anymore with the discovery of adamantium. All right, we're not talking about that right now, but I bet you that will have an effect, because people are going to wonder if with adamantium, does it really matter what vibranium does? But I don't know. They're not meant to be the same exact thing. It's because adamantium is it's stronger than vibranium, but vibranium has more diverse uses from what I understand. So it's not like one trumps the other. They're sort of similar. Well, not similar. They have different uses, exactly. But you know what? Enterprising is happy, and we are happy that we're getting all of these fictional locations, because when you watch like the animated shows and movies, like you get a lot more of that, but in the live action stuff they always try to mix things together. So I'm glad that we're getting all of these fictional locations brought into this universe. So yeah, and hello Jalen Harris in the chat, hello Patrick, and TC24 just chimed in saying adamantium still isn't as versatile as vibranium. Exactly, that's what I was saying.
It's kind of like, you know what it'll be, if for the Marvel universe, it'll be like Pepsi and Coke, where it has where it's like slight differences, but it's like still relatively the same thing. But it's like, or like Nintendo and Sega versus in the 90s. Well, it's like, well, adamantium has blast processing, so it's better. And then so, and then you know what they could do, like maybe the people for vibranium, when they see like Wolverine using adamantium, they're like, well, these dirty, disgusting mutants use adamantium. Use our nice, clean, amazing vibranium. So
Well, I mean, but again, it's a matter of like, I feel like vibranium does a lot more than just be strong as a something that's made to withstand impacts or be like used as a shield. It can do a lot more than that, right? So I mean, whereas adamantium so far, it's just like the strongest metal known to man in the MCU. Anyway, I don't know how we got. Well, we gotta get back to the DC side of things, because I'm sure we're gonna have other fictional DC metals in our the world that we're talking about right now. But yeah, huge interest in foods, goods, and music. Great, that's great. The conversation about adamantium and vibranium can be its own show. But yeah, all right, let's keep the ball rolling here. Jahanpur, though, new location that we did not know was part of is going to be a part of the DCU. Oh, I kind of skipped ahead, but that's all the Superman updates for the time being. We will actually get into a lot more Superman stuff, both in quick hits. Then we have a ton of stuff from James Gunn, and we have Superman in Rio de Janeiro. All the details about that. You know what? 2 billion incoming. Maybe across 2 movies, maybe across Supergirl and Superman, they can make 2 billion. But no, DC24, we're not done yet. We will get into more Superman in a second. But as you just saw a little bit of a preview, we had to talk about the MCU. But before I do that, let me know in the comments down below what you think about all of that Superman news. Are you excited about all those new fictional cities that are being brought over from the comics into the world of the DCU, as opposed to just giving us a New York City or a Chicago, which the MCU still is doing that. So like, you could go to the MCU and what they've got on offer, like, Ironheart is taking place in Chicago. So let us know in the comments down below what you thought about all those Superman updates. Right now, we're going to move on to some MCU talk. John, there's 2 MCU stories. I brought in a late one because I saw this, and it's about Blade, but the first one I want to start off with is the one that we had in our show description today, which is, of course, John Bernthal. Over the weekend, we found out, is joining Tom Holland in Spider-Man Brand New Day. The Punisher is back, and not only is he getting his own standalone, what are they calling it, like Disney Plus special. But he's also, of course, gonna be in the next Spider-Man movie, and of course we know he's gonna be back in Daredevil Born Again season 2. So I mean, John, they keep adding characters, and this one is probably the most notable addition to the show so far. What are your thoughts about this?
I'm very much on the fence. On the one hand, I am happy with the fact it is a street level hero, and it's not like, Doctor Strange or Iron Man or something like that, like in previous movies. But at the same
He was
time,
amazing in The Accountant too.
can we just have a Spider-Man movie instead of a Spider-Man and Friends movie? Like, I just want him, just Spider-Man, just beating up some bad guys and just doing his own type of thing. This is, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I know Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man kind of did something similar. Like, it had Doctor Strange in there and all that shit, but, like, at least, like, it still felt like Spider-Man in that world and that story, So, it just, like, I'm kind of sick of just, like, inserting random heroes. Yeah, I'm glad it's a hero that's not, like, cosmic entity level stuff. It's just the Punisher. But, like, what is he gonna fucking add? It's just like Bernthal's just gonna come in and, like, shoot up some people, and then Spider-Man's like, you shouldn't do that. And he's like, you're a child. I don't give a flying fuck what you say. And then we move on. It's like, what is he gonna add to this? Like, just because John Bernthal, let's go see it because the Punisher is in it. It's like, motherfucker, Spider-Man sells tickets on his own. Why do you need the Punisher? Like, really? I don't get it. Like, and now we're getting to the point where it's like the whole idea of like what the Scoopers revealed might be true, where it's like the Punisher and Spider-Man fighting the Hulk, and it's like, yeah, pretty much everything I feared what Spider-Man 4 would be after the great promise of what we could have gotten with this Spider-Man 4 is just now we're just like, okay, they're just repeating the same mistakes over and over again, and it's like, all right, cool, great. I'm just gonna go rewatch Troy Oboyo's College trilogy on YouTube again because that's what I actually fucking want to see in a movie. Like, all right.
Well, it's a good point,
Like,
but
why not make Daredevil? Like, I know there's probably some rights bullshit with Daredevil, but like, you can have Punisher apparently. Punisher's okay, but Daredevil is all right. Fuck off.
So look, I have a theory here, which is not necessarily leading into the rumors. We know that throughout the time that we have seen Tom Holland Spider-Man in the MCU, he's been sort of Peter Parker as a character has always been more of an outsider. But the MCU version of Peter Parker has never quite felt like an outsider. He of course had the ear to the coolest kid in the MCU, Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Iron Man. That was, Peter Parker's, mentor. Like, Peter had it pretty gosh darn good for the first 2.5 movies that he was a part of his trilogy, and then of course, the Avengers movies too. Until we got to the point where, until we got to the point where, of course, Tony Stark is not there, and then by the end of the third Spider-Man movie that we got with Tom Holland, he no longer has that privilege. Like, Peter Parker as a character always has worked really well because he's a outsider. He's like a common man. He doesn't have any special benefits or advantages. The MCU Spider-Man really didn't feel like he was that character up until now. And for a character where, again, most people don't know who Peter Parker is anymore. At least nobody that knew him before knows him anymore. So he's basically on his own, doesn't really have family, he doesn't even have Aunt May. Uncle Ben was not in the picture even before we met him in the first Spider-Man appearance in Civil War. So I imagine, like one of you guys were saying, there's like 10 superheroes in New York alone. Probably more if you count the Thunderbolts and their new headquarters of the new Avengers. So he's bound to run into, and he's a street level, crime fighter. So I mean, I think this is actually boding better for Spider-Man, because yeah, you're gonna run into, the Punisher who's operating in the city, and then now you're taking into account the events of the first season of Daredevil, where they might go with Daredevil Born Again season 2, and with Wilson Fisk being, of course, the mayor of the city. And I know that Wilson Fisk can't show up in the movies because of the deal that they have with Marvel, with the rights issues, but I bet you, like, this is gonna be one of those things where John Bernthal kind of shows up for a couple of scenes and that's it. It's not gonna be a big part of it. The only thing I think about is like that interaction, will probably have to straddle the line of PG-13 and rated R, but can't quite cross it because this movie will still be firmly a PG-13 movie. But yeah, I think this is like logically a step up from the Daredevil cameo that they had in the last movie. So I'm okay with this. They don't really tell us much of what this is going to be, but I mean, clearly it looks like they're starting to kind of tie together all the pieces of the heroes that hang out in the MCU in and around New York City. And I'm left to see how this ties into the Punisher special on Disney Plus, how this ties into season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. It's all, to me, so far, without a ton of details. I'm a bit more positive than you, John. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll ask Liz about it, when she's on the show, and see what she has to say. Um, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I'll leave it there for now. I mean, yeah, they did tease Venom, and we never got that. So who knows if we're gonna get another crossover? But Punisher and Spider-Man. I mean, this is the kind of thing we want to see in live action. These are the kind of crossovers.
Is it?
I want to see how this works. And then again, I feel like this version of Peter Parker is gonna be much more jaded. And somebody who really, again, he's starting.
I mean, that could be interesting, and Punisher could feed into that. It's just like as I said, I'm not totally against this. I'm on the fence.
Like John Bernthal's Punisher.
I think there are pros and cons to it all, but I'm still gonna wait for more information. It's just the idea of Punisher. Okay, that could work. I don't think it's necessary, but it could work. Again, I love John Bernthal. I thought the Punisher show was great. I thought both seasons had its flaws, but I thought both seasons were very good. I haven't seen Born Again, so I don't know how good he is in that. And I thought his stuff in season 2 of Daredevil was the best parts. The hand stuff was crap. So I'm on the fence because it's like John Bernthal is so good in the role, but at the same time, it is kind of confirming the stuff I don't like. Of like they're teaming up to fight the Hulk, like
again, but that's not confirmed. I don't know if
that's not confirmed, but it's like it's convenient that the Scoopers. I know we don't like to believe Scoopers here because Scoopers suck, but it's just interesting how this whole thing that the Scoopers provided, inch by inch, this thing is getting confirmed. Like I think there was another thing that they could predicted and it was confirmed, so it's like that's not great. I hope it's wrong. I hope they only got this part right and the rest of it's wrong, but I'm on the fence. I want to be excited for it more, but I'll just, as Liz likes to say, I'm just going to sit tight and wait for more information.
Yeah, again, I'm on the same page. I just think this would be the Punisher. John Bernthal's Punisher could be the perfect mentor for where Peter Parker is in his life and where Spider-Man is right now in his journey. So I would like to see how that turns out. I mean, Punisher's first appearance was in a Spider-Man comic, like Frankie G's telling us right now. So making an appearance in a Spider-Man movie, it is like a bit of like a dream come true. If you're a Marvel fan of the comics, like this is like, oh my god, like I did not think this was ever gonna happen, and here we are. Finally, it's gonna happen. Yeah, and I think if there is a Hulk, I think the one we're talking about in this movie, it's not gonna be the Red Hulk. I don't think Harrison Ford is coming back to the MCU anytime soon.
No.
It's most likely Mark Ruffalo's, Hulk, the OG Hulk.
Or like, like the 7 other Hulks that are gonna be that they have now, because it's like they're bringing in. They could have She-Hulk. They could have his kid, or like God knows how many other connected people there are.
We'll have to just wait and see what it turns into. I, for one, am excited. I think, John, you and I would both like to see what it becomes ultimately, but it's going to be fun. We'll have to just wait and see from a storytelling standpoint how it all fits together. But you know what? That wasn't the only thing from Marvel I want to get into today. Mahershala Ali apparently still wants to film Blade, saying recently that call Marvel, let them know I'm ready. And I'll just read this quick little bit here from the article in Variety. It's been nearly 6 years, of course, as you guys know, since Marshall Ali stepped out on stage doing Marvel's Hall H presentation at San Diego Comic-Con, where producer Kevin Feige announced that the two-time Oscar-winning actor would be playing the Vampire Slayer, Blade, rebooting the character first originated by Wesley Snipes on screen and adding him into the MCU. Of course, we've had numerous directors come and go since then. Cast members have, come and gone. The script has been started and restarted, but apparently, at the New York premiere of Jurassic World Rebirth, he was asked about this, and Marshall Ali was like, "Call Marvel." I'm ready. Let them know I'm ready. So like he is still ready to go. We know that some of the rumored delays were because he's got some say on the story part of it, like the script of the movie, and he wasn't really satisfied. But it wasn't just him. Like Kevin Feige wasn't really happy with where they were going, and that's why they've had multiple resets with the movie. But John,
because apparently people can't fucking figure out guy who kills vampires.
I know. And we get again. There's a David Goyer article that I saved for tomorrow's show where we're gonna get into more detail, because David Goyer still is saying, "Look, I started off writing the first Blade movie, and I've done like 5 different DC movies, including like several of the Dark Knight trilogy. He wrote was it Superman Returns? Was that written by David Goyer?
No, he did Man of Steel.
Man of Steel. Okay, Man of Steel. He wrote that, which great movie in my opinion. And he did write part of the Batman v Superman script. But anyway, so he still wants to come back and do it. So I'm like, give him a call. He's like, I asked Marvel and they told me that we're good. We finally figured it out. And then they had another reset. But John, what do you think about this? Marshall Ali saying, "I'm ready. Let them know I'm ready. Call Marvel." Don't you think Marvel would be calling him? Does that mean they're not even talking about this? To me, this is like an indication that he's doing other things and he's waiting on Marvel. Like, what's going on here?
Marvel is too dumb to figure out what the fans want. They're like, literally 2 out of the 3 Blade movies were fucking Kino, and it's just like for some reason they can't figure that out. So it's just like I don't understand, like, because apparently one of the scripts was like a 1920s like period piece Blade, and it's just like, and it's funny because then Sinners comes out and it's fucking wrecks the box office, and Marvel's like, "How do we figure this out?" And then Ryan Coogler's like, "This," and they're like, "No, that can't be it," and then they still can't figure it out. So it's just Mahershala Ali, dude, is a fucking amazing talent. You fucking got this Oscar-winning fucking actor at your disposal who wants to do this, and you just can't figure it out. Like, it's different, like, at least with, like, Matt Reeves, and we'll get into that soon. At least with, like, Matt Reeves, he is clearly working on it. He's writing. He's just like, "I'm slow and I take forever." Fine. Okay, cool. But he's clearly writing it. So, and James Gunn is saying, "I'm writing it," or he's writing it. Matt Reeves is saying, "I'm writing it." So it's like, he's clearly writing the damn thing. But like Marvel, it's just like, there's just been a revolving door of directors and writers who can't seem to figure this out. And it's just like, all right. Like, you literally have the ingredients for like the best thing ever, and for some reason you can't figure it out. It's like you literally made $1 billion off of your first R-rated movie. Yes, that's Deadpool, and that was from Fox, and that was mainly Ryan Reynolds championing it, but it shows you can make money off of an R-rated movie. So fucking do that. Like, it's I don't know why you're so far up your own ass you can't see that. I don't know.
I mean, look, here's the thing. To me, this is indicating a bigger problem, that currently Marshall Ali and Marvel are not talking about Blade. Like, that's the problem. Because if he's like, "Call Marvel, let them know I'm ready," I mean, you let them know you're ready. Aren't you the one who signed the contract? Aren't you the one who's like got script approval rights and stuff and all that jazz? And shouldn't Kevin Feige and you be talking about this in-house? Why are we the ones who need to call Marvel? Like, that to me, this is maybe Blade is on the shelf right now. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's where we were at, unless Marshall Ali's just, is kind of flipping the question back at the person on the red carpet. I mean, who knows? So, but I for one, would still love to see this. Blade was the last good Marvel movie, Casey? Okay, yeah, because you have hated all. Okay, I get it. From earlier what you said, that makes sense. For you, okay. But anyway, if only Marvel had Ryan Coogler's contact info. I know, right? Not like they threw his name as EP on Ironheart or anything. Exactly. I mean, we'll talk about that later this week as well. Old man, you know what though? Old Man Blade might not. It could work. It could work. I wouldn't mind seeing an Old Man Blade movie. I just don't. I mean, you can make a Marshall Ali Old Man Blade movie at this point. So
Yeah.
Blade Junior.
I mean,
I don't think he's Blade
could
Junior,
do-
but you know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there has been a couple different Blades,
Yeah.
like a couple different Daywalkers. So I think what you could do is have it be that Snipes is in like the Whistler role while he trains someone else to be like this big vampire hunter Daywalker, whether he's a Daywalker or not. But I think that would be really cool. Because I mean, Chris Christopherson's unfortunately no longer with us, so you know it would be cool if like Snipes entered that role and like maybe not even as Blade. They just have Whistler played by Snipes, but in sort of a metaphorical spiritual successor kind of sense. They have like the previous Blade passing the torch onto the new Blade, whether it's actually the original Eric Brooks or not. I think it would be cool to have him in that mentor role. Yeah, I mean, they did an old woman Harley comic because DC saw what Marvel was doing. So they're like, all right, we're going to do that too. And I read like 2 issues of that and I'm like, this friggin' sucks. So, you know.
Enterprising saying I'd be okay with that. Passing the torch. All right, well, you know what, guys? It looks like Marshall Ali and Marvel are not even talking about the Blade right now because Marshall Ali is telling you to call Marvel and tell him he's ready. So let's do that, shall we? Hello, Kevin Feige. It looks like Marshall Ali still wants to do Blade. How about you? Let us know in the comments down below what you guys think about that. Of course, also the news that John Bernthal, he is now joining Spider-Man Brand New Day. In addition to, of course, he's going to be appearing in his own special over at Disney Plus and Daredevil Season 2. So let us know what you think about those Marvel pieces of news, both pieces of news, in fact, and we'll love to hear your comments. We'll bring those in to the Q&A session at the end of the week. Right now, we're going to switch focus to the quick hits, shall we, John? So let us find that sweet, sweet quick hits music, and we'll dive into that, shall we? You guys are still commenting on the Deadpool, well, the Blade stuff, I should say. But anyway, let me find the quick hits music. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Thank you, John. Thanks for the help. Actually, hold on. I need to find. I don't know if I have the articles up. Do I? Let's see. My bad. There we go. There we go. We got it. Okay.
We got it. We good.
Yeah, we got it. We're getting it. Don't you worry, guys. This is you know, we have some slightly more limited resources today. So there we go. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let's dive into it, shall we? We got the quick hits. John, the first quick hit today is Superman related. Jay Boaz. You know, I like to go out and find the positive Superman folks out there who are like, why can't we just be friends? Like the world that we live in today, people are fighting wars and, you know, just killing each other. Like, why can't we all just be friends? And Jay, he's got the right attitude because he's got, of course, David Cornsweet Superman out front with the trunks, and then you've got Henry Cavill Superman with the belt, and then Christopher Reeve Superman with the classic suit, both with their hands on Cornsweet's shoulders, saying, we'll pass on the torch to you. And I love the attitude, right? Like there are people out there who just want to love the new Superman and they love the previous ones, and it doesn't matter if they like one, and because they can also like the other. You don't have to pick only one of iteration. You don't have to just like Christopher Reeve's version. You don't just have to like Henry Cavill's version. You can like them all. You can like the one that's coming out in a few weeks from now. He's saying in this post, I think in the online discourse, it gets forgotten that every Superman is someone's Superman. We all have our definitive version of the character, but just like each comic book creative team has a different take on the character, each movie does the same. It would be boring if every movie was a cookie cutter of those that came before. We can all enjoy our own Superman without tearing down someone else's. I feel like that's the way Superman would want it. John, what do you think about this take?
Agreed.
Same. I think this is
I don't really have to say
the kind of
more,
attitude
but
we should all have.
Agreed.
All right, good for you, Manolo. Good for you. Hopefully, today is a good day for you on that front. But we're gonna keep on going with the quickies, like Manolo will. South Park creators, they just were threatening legal action over interference on a streaming deal. So I read this article, John. So apparently, the company that distributes South Park is it was created in 2007. It's 50% owned by essentially Paramount, like, or it used to be Viacom, but then they merged together, so it's Paramount, and then it's half owned by the creators of the show, and currently their streaming deal with Paramount Plus is set to expire. So Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery with HBO Max are looking to bid and take South Park over to their streaming services. But if you know that that Skydance merger is about to happen, so Jeff Shell is going to be the new president once the combined company takes shape with Paramount Skydance, and through him they're trying to interfere with the contracts that are being put together by Warner Brothers Discovery and Netflix, where he's saying, look, you guys have to basically cut the length of your deals in half from 10 years to 5 years, and give Paramount Plus a window of exclusivity. So basically Paramount Plus would still have the show for a year before it goes onto those other streaming services, whereas those streaming services right now, all they want to do is they want we just give us South Park proper, like we want South Park all for ourselves,
which honestly, I can kind of see why, and honestly, I would probably prefer it be on Paramount Plus, considering Netflix usually cancels shows after like 2 seasons, and Discovery hates animation. So, can't imagine that South Park going to either of these would be a good idea. But still, don't fuck with legal shit.
I mean, look, Warner Brothers HBO Max already has South Park rights, where after about a certain amount of time that the original episodes air on Paramount, HBO has them, but you don't get the latest stuff there. So they already have them, but this essentially would give them, the deal that they're offering potentially would give them rights to South Park's brand new episodes as well. So no, they still make new episodes, Frankie, not just specials. So they're still, they've got over 300 episodes and they're still pumping them out. So absolutely,
26 seasons. It's just specials ever since with season 24, it's been specials, and then a very small very small amount of episodes.
Yeah, and hello Antonio in the chat. But yeah, you know what, it's kind of not fair from what I read, that the incoming president, because look, the people who own Paramount with the Skydance, they, until the deal is done, they legally cannot interfere with contract negotiations until they actually take control of the company. And essentially they're trying to do that just right here. So I imagine if this goes through, then hopefully the creators of South Park will be able to get Jeff Shell and the new ownership's hands off of their stuff and get a fair deal with whichever streaming service they end up on. But you know what, we do have some TV rating news, John. So the NBA Finals, of course, had a Game 7 yesterday. And we saw the Oklahoma City Thunder for the first time since the franchise moved from Seattle to Oklahoma. They won the championship, beating the Indiana Pacers. Of course, Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles, so he's going to be out for a while, so he wasn't able to take part in it. But for our purposes, we want to talk about how this Game 7 gave the NBA Finals a 6-year high in the ratings, which is pretty gosh darn good. I for one love to see that, because this is a time when they're essentially moving over from TNT over to NBC and Amazon, and while the finals were on ABC, which is going to continue to carry the finals, is going to rotate. I don't think ESPN is going to have the finals on ABC every year moving forward. NBC is going to get a few years as well. Speaking of which, NBC Sports has just named Maria Taylor the lead NBA studio host, so she will be the lead studio host for all the NBA and WNBA studio programming, alongside all the games that they're getting as part of their rights deal. Again, more fantastic news for basketball fans out there, because NBA has not been on NBC network since the 90s, and we're finally getting back to that. And it looks like they're pulling out all the stops. They got Carmelo Anthony on their team and stuff. I mean, Amazon as well is going to have a lot of great stars and veterans and people you might have even seen, like Stan Van Gundy is coming over from TNT to do commentary for some of the games as well. So yeah, yes, Maria Taylor is definitely really good. Generally, she's been part of their Sunday Night Football coverage and in the NFL. So now it looks like she's going to be doing a lot of NBA and WNBA, which is amazing. It is amazing. I actually, have worked with NBC on several occasions, won 2 different Emmys on 2 different occasions. So definitely a fan of NBC and how they do things. Speaking of doing things, John, if I can get this article to stop showing me this thing, I wanted to talk about how we've got a new spaceship of a museum over in LA that George Lucas is establishing. This is part of a new art museum, and it's called the Lucas Museum. It's going to feature narrative art. Essentially, you're going to get stuff from artists who have worked on concept art for movies and stuff that we have seen in the movie, TV shows and such. And you look at the architecture, it looks like something right out of Star Wars. I don't know, did you get a chance to look at this? This looks crazy because it's right next to the LA Coliseum and it's not open yet, so they're still building it, but the thing is just out of this world in terms of the architecture. I feel like they could turn this straight up into something they can use for what do they call it, like a stand-in set for an episode of Andor. That would be amazing. So that is amazing. Exactly, enterprising. I mean, you could go visit this once it opens in LA. It's right next to the LA Coliseum. So when the World Cup is in LA, in LA, and of course the Olympics are coming to LA, this will be right there. The museum of the Lucas Museum, or the Museum of Narrative Art, as they call it. So yeah, and George Lucas definitely is one of the goats of the movie industry. So
very cool.
Very cool indeed. Very cool. Ron, it was sports. It was television. Never mind. Okay. All right. Ron taking offense with our NBC sports coverage for the NBA. Will it show the Star Wars? Oh, I don't know, Manolo. Maybe it will. Maybe there's a
Caleb.
corner,
Is that you?
a dark room where you can go watch a Star Wars holiday special on loop. Yeah. Yep. Is it soccer? I would call it football. I mean, I was talking about the NFL, which is not soccer.
Football.
I'm pretty sure. That's
American football.
American football. There you go. All right. Okay, moving on to the next thing, John. We've seemed to hit a couple of low points here in the quick hits, but let's get back to talking about Superman, shall we? Because James Gunn it was in that podcast, and I think one of you guys were talking about this earlier. He did that DC Studios Showcase interview. Remember, you guys talked about this, I think on Friday. Bridget and yourself were talking about this. One of the things that he mentioned in that podcast interview was how as soon as he got the job, he got a text message from Jason Momoa saying, "Hey man, like I'd love to play Lobo," or he simply just said Lobo, and then James Gunn was like, "Okay." And then I don't know, John, do you remember like where he talks about how then Ryan Reynolds congratulated him and then sent him a text message, and then James Gunn was like, do you want to play Green Lantern again? And Ryan Reynolds was like, F off. And that was the end of that text thread. That it looks like Lobo was pretty much locked in for Momoa from the day that James Gunn got the job. Are you surprised it was that early that he landed it and we only just found out about it a few months ago?
I mean, it shows that I think it's a good leadership kind of thing, like I'm trying to find the right words for it, but like it just goes to show that like the secretness that like James Gunn has like shows care, I guess. Because it's like, he revealed the right thing at the right time, like very calculative and very like he could have immediately, we signed the deal, boom, here we go, Jason Momoa's Lobo. And then I feel like it just like having an idea of it and like people talking, okay, that's cool. And then like it builds the momentum, but like once like, oh, we signed it off, here we go, here it is. It's like, oh, there's no like build up to it, and there's no tension, but it's like fans talking, and then it eventually gets revealed. I think that's a really smart thing to do, because it's like, it feels like it's like that old school thing. Well, now it's technically old school, even though we both remember it, like either the early days of the internet or pre-internet, where it's like we don't know anything until it's revealed in like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, in the magazines and newspapers way back when. And it's like, oh, this thing, it's like, we knew, like, they signed off the deal months ago, but now we know. And I don't know, it just feels like having James Gunn like be like in control of that information as much as he can. That's why he's like has to like denounce Jeff Snyder every other fucking day, because it's like, no, that's not what we're planning. Jeff, shut the fuck up before I bust down your wall with my goddamn SWAT team, you fucking asshole. So I don't know, it's just, I like it, like it works for me. I think that's really nice to be like, whether it's Lobo or something else, like he has like a dozen like secret projects, this A-list actor fucking pitched him something, so it's like, you know, it's like, but it's secretive, it like has us talking, because the thing is, like, the whole idea of all publicity is good publicity. People are talking about DC again, instead of like, okay, the Flash came out, all right, that sucked, Aquaman comes out, that sucks. So it's like, you know, it's like they don't care, because it's just like, it's, I think indifference is worse than hatred at this point, because it's like, when you don't care, when you're not talking, that sucks. But then with this, like James Gunn, like not revealing things but having people talk, whether it's because of scoopers or not, it's getting people to talk. It's like, yeah, sure, the Snyder Bros are fucking up their own asses, like complaining about everything, but they're talking about DC. So it's like James Gunn is winning in the end. So it's like you're giving this movie free publicity by being an annoying little shitbag. So, you know, it works. It works.
Yeah,
so,
I love
but
it.
I love this, how James Gunn is doing it.
I do.
Exactly.
And again, he's not giving this away until after, you know, we have known that, of course, Momoa was in Supergirl. So, all right, moving on to the next thing. Rachel Brosnahan posted a bit of a recap from her trip to Manila alongside the rest of the Superman crew, including James Gunn, as you see here, commenting on the post, saying, "Manila, we love you. Thank you for helping us kick off the summer of Superman in style. Here we come, Rio. We'll see you soon enough." So, of course, more of the photos that we have seen before. I you know what? That Superman statue is not as good as the one in BBS, but I'll take it. Manila really went all out for Superman, though, dude. Because like, you really look at the stuff in Rio de Janeiro later in the show. I don't know. I feel like Manila just went way out there and all out for Superman in a way that I don't know how many other cities will do that, because this was a big deal. And of course, you know, David Cornsweet, but whatever movie he's doing that here, Cart 4, alongside, of course, Rachel Brosnahan, and you got Peter Safran and James Gunn there. I have a feeling like the core three will be in every city: James Gunn, David Cornsweet, and Rachel Brosnahan. But maybe like Peter Safran and some of the other cast members may just come and go depending on where they are, because we didn't really see Peter Safran, and we're gonna get into this more with the Brazil stuff. But dude, what a view that was, being in the Philippines. We've talked so much about this last week, and yeah, Rachel Brosnahan having an amazing time. What do you think about, again, more from the trip to the Philippines that Superman took last week?
I think it's awesome. I think you know, it's, again, I love this, like what would be the opposite of a farewell tour? An introduction tour. So I don't know what the word for that is, but I just love this like world tour. Let's go. So it's like, you know, I'm sure it's for a role or something. But yeah, I just love this. I love this, and you know, we're going to be talking about, you know, Jesus. Well, quote unquote. With them in Rio de Janeiro, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
We will get into that. Yeah, the theme continues. But yeah, I mean, it looks like David Cornsweet's new haircut is because, yeah, he's probably they got a new movie role or it's just the summer months and he wants to keep it light, which I totally understand. All right, moving on to the next thing, John. It looks like Cardi B has a new album, Am I the Drama, coming out. She just announced it. It's long anticipated follow-up to 2018's Invasion of Privacy, and it will release on September 19th. John, your thoughts on Cardi B putting out some brand new music? What do you think?
Gross, because she fucking sucks, and she's a criminal, and she's a piece of shit, so she can rot in a hole for all I care, and she looks more like a Barbie than a human being, so fuck her and her shitty music.
Ouch. I think she's also like the special celebrity host of SummerSlam for WWE this August, I think. Anyway, Mason Thames and Mel Gibson's Monster Summer set streaming release. The director David Henry's movie that also stars Kevin James and Lauren Baracco is set to make its streaming debut on Paramount Plus with Showtime, John. It will be available on July 1st. What are your thoughts? Is this a movie that you would watch?
I would only be interested. I mean, I like Mason Thames. I like Mel Gibson purely as a screen presence or behind the scenes screen presence. Him as a person, we don't talk about that, but I like both those actors, and if it's David Henry as in like Wizards of Waverly Place, David Henry finally going behind the camera, that's pretty cool.
No, he spells it with a Y. This is a Henrie. So
no, that's how David Henry spells it.
Well, it really does.
The Wizards of Waverly Place.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, let's take a look.
But I mean, maybe it'll suck, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, now I'm interested.
That's how he spells it.
I don't know. Oh shit. Okay. I guess he's directing. Hello. All right.
That's cool. I mean, if it gets good reviews and it turns out to be, a pretty good movie, then I'll watch it. But like, if it sucks, then I just won't.
You know, a good question though. Is it straight to streaming? It looks like they released it theatrically. Last October, just in time for Halloween. I don't think it made much of a dent at the box office, but yeah, it was released theatrically last October, and now
it's online already from Apple, Amazon, to Fandango, but you have to pay.
So you can rent it, right? But you're gonna be able to stream it on.
And it's like it's got like middling reviews. Plus, it's got Patrick Renna, who's in it as well. You're killing me, Smalls. Yep. Anyway. But I don't know if it's if I have nothing to do and like I need to watch a movie that's on streaming and it's like sure, why not?
Yeah. Can't be as bad as what was that movie that John Krasinski just did for Apple? Never mind.
Fountain of Youth.
It can't be as bad as that. Chernin Entertainment just signed a first-look film deal with Apple TV Plus. This agreement follows the scripted film label of the North Road Company, producing titles like Hidden Figures, 4B Ferrari, The Greatest Showman, and Planet of the Apes. So the first-look deal, of course, means that they'll get first dibs on anything this company produces. Now, of course, they just made a new TV series called Chief of War, which you see right here, the image for Jason Momoa starring in that. And they've also been working on a documentary series, The War for Football. So it looks like the company is extending its relationship with Apple TV Plus, John. Considering some of the other stuff they've made, do you think this is a good deal?
Damn good deal. No, I don't know. It's just, it could be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say.
Mobland is great. I actually, Fiona watched it and I saw some of it and I have to finish watching it. It is amazing. Mobland is great. You guys should check it out, like Jose is telling you to. And yes, Cardi B is hosting SummerSlam this year. It's a 2-night event at MetLife Stadium. Speaking of gross, Johnny Knoxville is set to host Fear Factor Reboot at Fox. The reality show would feature an ongoing competition element in addition to the infamous challenges that are the franchise's calling card. John, it's looking like Fear Factor is back and is going to be a real jackass, according to The Hollywood Reporter. We have some crazy quickets today. Holy cow. Are you going to watch it? You just said you don't care. That's what I heard.
I don't care.
You don't care. All right, cool. I don't know. I might be baited into watching it, but honestly, I hated every freaking time they did all like the little, I don't know, like the creepy crawlies, and I don't want any of that shit. The world itself is a fear. Exactly. You know, and the last thing we need is to put this thing back on TV. Nope. I bet this will go for a season, and then Johnny Knoxville will get tired, and then probably the show will get canceled again, and we'll move on with the bigger and better things. And speaking of bigger and better things, John, that is all we have got for Quick Hits today. So let's hit an end to that music, and we're gonna move on to the stuff you guys are all here for anyway. Kay saying Bam Margera appeared on Fish Tank. I think it happened today. Who's that? Who's Bam Margera? Anybody? I don't know. Kay. I don't know. Were we talking about this guy earlier in the show? I don't know if we were. But hello, Kay. Have you seen Jay? I don't know. That's a Men in Black reference. While I try to pull up the other articles. I'm having a bad time with these transitions today, John. All right, well, that was the end of the Quick Hit, guys. So let us know in the comments down below which of those did you like. Did you like none of them? Because quite frankly, John was a bit of a indifferent to most of what we talked about at Quick Hits today. Night of Champions will be fun, Antonio. Night of Champions will be interesting. I wonder if John Cena will actually lose the title. CM Punk going to Saudi Arabia? Holy shit, I never thought that would happen. But anyway, moving on to the next thing, and now we got to get into the DC part of the show. Of course, we already talked a lot about DC already, and now we're going to get into it proper. So welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. As per always, we've got a lot of Superman news for you guys today. We've got a lot of James Gunn news for you guys today, and we have some Batman 2, the Batman 2 news for you as well. So let's dive into it, shall we? Before we do, though, I want to reintroduce John. Which of the stories that we're going to talk about today are you most excited about before we dive into it?
I always love more Superman talk, but I love to comment on all the different things coming out. Obviously I'm excited for the big one, but Batman 2 talk and Peacemaker, honestly, all the stories seem interesting to me that's worthy to talk about, ranging. I like, maybe there's not like one specific thing, but I love all of them. You're muted.
I was saying, I love that you love all of the stories because there was no prejudice here. We love all of DC equally. So let's get into it, shall we? The very first thing I wanted to dive into was the fact that James Gunn recently mentioned that season 2 takes place, season 2 of Peacemaker, I should say. It takes place a couple of years after season 1. This was part of the Entertainment Weekly interview, and then he said, I see how difficult after all my time at Marvel it is to make things truly fit together. So it's an unspecified amount of a couple of years, John. So what are your thoughts on the fact that it has been a couple of years, of course, since the first season ended, or the events of the first season before we get into season 2? Does that kind of change your perspective on how, like, Jennifer Holland's character is still sort of not gotten over what happened to her, the PTSD, and because it's not like this is only months later. It's been I mean, he doesn't say exactly 2 years. He's saying an unspecified amount of a couple of years. But what are your thoughts on the time?
Usually a couple means 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I mean that makes sense because it's like everyone's gotten a little bit older and all that stuff. So it's like, and I feel like it makes more sense to like Peacemaker being in this kind of weird rut, I guess, of like, they're kind of just, I thought we would be like big now, but it's just like, oh, really, nobody cares about us. And that could feed into like Peacemaker's role and Amelia Harcourt's role and all these other people that are just like, well, I'm still stuck at this restaurant. I'm still feeling these thoughts. Peacemaker's still in the position he's in, and now like, Argus is after him and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think it makes sense that a couple years have gone by.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Thank you, Stephen, for the compliment. We always appreciate that. We try to look our handsomest for every show. Yeah, I like the idea that we're in a situation here where a little bit of time has gone by. I do appreciate that, and I would love to see again how that translates into the events of the show. Obviously, that means the events of season 1 of Peacemaker predate Superman, by at least a couple of years. So
Mhm.
that's interesting. So I will, it would be fun to see how all of that plays out. It also means that it's been a couple of years at least, if not more, since Rick Flag Jr. was brutally killed by Peacemakers. So
Mhm.
it wasn't as recent a memory for Rick Flag Sr. as I guess we thought it was. So that's all going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have on the show itself, but it will be fun to see how it all ties together. Now, John, I saw this thread and I figured it was a good place for us to kind of look for things we might have missed from the DC Studio Showcase podcast, and how we talked about earlier in the quick hits that James Gunn made an appearance on there. He did a whole interview, and this is basically a summary of everything they talked about. And one of the things that was interesting, that I don't know if you guys talked about this on Friday, was Gunn confirming that not only is it Superman not an origin story, but it's, Clark is already at the Daily Planet. He's already Superman. He's dating Lois Lane, but emotionally he's still becoming the man the world needs. So it's a coming of age story for a guy in his 30s, which, I mean, honestly, I feel like that's kind of what we saw with Man of Steel as well, except of course the tone of this movie will be very different. What are your thoughts on, again, emotionally it's still a coming of age story for Superman, like he's still discovering himself even though he's in his 30s?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think that's I think we all kind of need that, like, because I feel like it's going against the idea of, like, yeah, by the time you hit 30, you have all your shit figured out because you went through the trial run. When it's just like, bro, you can hit 60 and still not have your shit figured out. Like, that's not how life is. Like, it's mostly just like people who are like kids and teenagers are like, oh yeah, older people have their shit figured out. It's like, spoiler alert, we fucking
Mm-mm.
don't.
Mm-mm.
And we're just kind of going along with whatever the hell is thrown at us. So it's like the fact that, like, they're kind of doing that here. Yeah, it's a guy with superpowers, but it's also he's figuring out his powers, he's figuring out his love life, he's figuring out his job, his family, his fucking dog. Like, it's just he's still kind of figuring shit out, and that's kind of nice to see. Like, hey, even Superman doesn't have his shit figured out. So if you don't have your shit figured out, you're like a 32-year-old still living at home, which is probably going to be me in 4 years. Then, like, that's a-okay, man. That's a-okay.
Your brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
You said the word, John, so I had to go there. But anyway,
I
one of the
know,
other
I
things,
know. I would not expect anything less.
one of the other things that they pointed out here in the interview was that James Gunn mentioned that the tone of this movie is bright and emotional, but not naive. It's not about pretending the world is
Yes,
good. It's about being good despite the world. Clark chooses to love people, and that's the hard
exactly.
part. Which, I mean, again, I feel like Man of Steel was doing that with Zack Snyder's version, but it just lacked the brightness. I mean, again, like, this Superman just feels more core to what the character has always been in the comics. And but thematically there's similarities, obviously. I mean, again, I'm not trying to just bring in all the comparisons to Man of Steel, but it does feel like, there's a lot of similarities in what they're trying to portray, except you can just tell with two different directors you can get two very different looking movies. So what are your thoughts, again, the idea that it's not about, naivete. It's not about pretending that
Hmm.
the world is good. It's about being good despite the world that you live in, which is a much more
Yeah, I
realistic
mean,
take.
that's preferable in all honesty
Yeah.
because um that's what we want to see. Because it's like people think, again, the idea, like, people thinking kindness is a weakness, kindness is naive, when it's really not. It's just it's showcasing that how terrible the world is, and especially how terrible this world is right fucking now. It's like still finding the hope to keep going, finding the hope to, like, live your life to maybe the best, or trying your best is still good and still um worthwhile and still great to see. And I love a
Yeah.
movie that's really showcasing that.
Yeah. Exactly. Um okay, yeah. I was like, what are we talking about? Uxas in the chat anyway. Yeah, Benigno saying Man of Steel lacks a lot of stuff. It's why it's a good sci-fi movie but a bad Superman movie. I mean, that's a I've heard that take before. Kindness is strength. That's definitely something that I think Superman even says that, in the one of the movie trailers. The next thing that I want to get into is the visual tone that James Gunn talked about, which he mentioned specifically that he studied. Of course, we know this: All Star Superman, Superman for All Seasons, the Fleischer cartoons, the Donner movies, and the Miyazaki movies that he's not Superman Miyazaki movies, obviously, but the stuff that Miyazaki's done over the years. And James Gunn said, "I wanted something elegant, no shaky cam, no darkness for darkness's sake. This is a clean cinematic Superman." I'm sure these are not meant to be, pot shots at Zack Snyder, but I'm sure the cultists will take it that way. John, what are your thoughts on what James Gunn said here? No shaky cam, no darkness for darkness' sake.
Yeah, I think this is okay, anyway. I think this is awesome to see, and just kind of reiterating what we've heard before.
Sorry, so good. So good. The William Shatner, like,
there's something on the wing.
I totally lost track of what we were talking about.
Bruh, is it gay to hug your dog?
It's not... I don't understand the world we live in. Oh my god.
Although it is funny because because I put, as you all know, I put the Superman bandana on my dog, and then it's really funny because the Mets started losing, so he had to and my dad's a superstitious guy, so he had to take the Superman bandana off and put the Mets bandana back on. So yeah, my dog no longer has the Superman bandana because my dad's a superstitious son of a bitch.
That's unfortunate. You know what, Ron? If it's gay to hug your dog, then we are all gay and proud. Hell yeah.
I mean, it is still June, so
yeah, it's Pride Month, everybody. So again, James Gunn also confirmed that no needle drops. He's known for his soundtracks, of course, but not in this one. In fact, this is the first movie James Gunn said that he has ever done where it's score only. It forced him to level up as a director, and emotion had to come from the scene, not the music. John, you're surprised that
yes,
we're getting literally no needle drops. Like, it's not even like we were getting, fewer. We're getting no needle drops here. To me though, like, I mean,
on the one hand,
of like he's being humble, but I'm also like, really, like, this is the first time you've ever done a movie without any needle drops. I don't know. Anyway,
I will say, a part of me is like happy because it's like no inundated with like songs, but like honestly, I feel it could have worked. I mean, I know we talked about this like way back when. Where it's like, honestly, I mean, it is canonical in the comics that Superman is a metalhead, or at least a Metallica fan. So I would have loved to see some Metallica needle drops in this movie because it fits the character, technically. So I'm just saying.
I agree with you.
It could have worked, but I'm still happy that we don't, because sometimes that's not needed. Like, I feel like some directors, like titties, go too far with the needle drops, and then they just don't end up working and making no sense. So, hello, Chuck.
Maybe in the credits. Chuck. I mean, it could make sense. Maybe it could make sense in the credits. All right. Okay, moving on to the next thing.
Oh, that's tight. Wow.
All right. Well, one of the other things that James Gunn mentioned was Ultraman, saying that he is sort of Lex's thug, a twisted version of Superman created through violence and power. Lex is behind everything happening in Metropolis. If it's bad, Lex has a hand in it. John, what are your thoughts on this?
Spoilers.
Again, more confirmation that, he's Lex's thug, Ultraman doing his bidding, and I don't know what violence and power exactly means, but he's a twisted version of Superman, which we all kind of figured. So I wonder if he flies. I don't know. He seems to do everything else. He's got the super strength down. It seems to run pretty fast. I don't know, John. What do you think? Does this give you any more insight into Superman? Well, Ultraman, I should say, than we already sort of knew or surmised from the trailers?
I mean, A little. I mean, it doesn't really shine a lot on anything. Just that, yeah. I mean, he's kind of, fucking Superman just body slamming him, but it's pretty awesome. But I think it's just like, yeah, I think that's kind of what confirming our suspicions of what we've, seen before. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then mentioning about Supergirl, James Gunn said that I told Peter, "Have you seen that girl in House of the Dragon? That's Supergirl." I just knew. So it looks like she already locked down the role before she even went to the auditions, despite the fact we have heard from Millie Alcock. She was really, really nervous when she was at the auditions, but it looks like James Gunn might have already been
you
like,
didn't
she's
need to
got the
be.
part.
You had it.
She already had the part. So, yeah. What do you think?
And it's kind of confirming that James Gunn was the one who cast her, which leads us to believe that she's probably in this movie, but, we'll see.
Yep. And then we'd already talked about the Lobo thing. He texted him "Lobo baby," which is the most Lobo, text that anybody could ever get.
Well, actually, would have been Lobo Baby, even more so than Lobo Baby. Lobo the Stitch. The main man is in the house.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, then, as far as Clayface goes, James Gunn mentioned it's smart, it's scary, it's body horror. If this wasn't DC, I'll still make it. He confirms that the movie is set in the DCU, and it is indeed rated R. Any surprises there for you?
Nope. Hell yeah.
All right. I mean, again, a lot of these details are kind of confirmed. It's going to be interesting to see how it fits into the larger DCU overall. We will talk a little bit about the connection to the Batman Brave and the Bold later as well. But Creature Commandos, James Gunn saying he wrote it before he became the co-head of DC, which we knew this. And he said you'll see characters from Creature Commandos and Superman and later in Peacemaker Season 2. I wonder which characters we're going to see other than Frank
Rick
Grillo,
Flag fucking Sr. and Amanda Waller. That's and John Economos.
Obvious, but I'm like, do you think we're going to get any of the other creatures? Because that's what I would be interested in, He's saying these are the.
I mean, I think it's just like James Gunn being like, haha, cagey, but it's just like Rick Flag Sr., Amanda Waller, John Economos.
Well, they are the spine.
All were in Creature Commandos, all 100% going to be in those two projects.
Which makes
both
sense.
Or one or the other.
I would love to see one of the other characters. I want to see if they can bring in anybody else. And yeah, Elite Easy, the budget for that movie is about apparently 40 million, which would be great because that means that movie makes what, like 160, 150, and it's already, profitable. Which I'm sure it can make that much. Chuck saying, I think it needs more original soundtrack music. Superman does that captures our attention. The needle drops in movies that do that usually have forgettable soundtracks. That's true. That is true. I feel like there's only one really memorable piece of music from all the Guardians movies. So I hope we get more orchestral music in this Superman movie that actually sticks with us. This is where I think Fantastic Four currently has Superman beat. I personally like the Fantastic Four music for the new movie more than the Superman one, but The Bride would be cool. I would love to see The Bride show up in Peacemaker.
I'd love to see any of them in live action. I'd love to see Dr. Phosphorus in live action.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, cheaper than the Joker. Well, the first Joker was like 40 million, if I remember correctly. Was it? Oh no, it was 80 million, wasn't it? Because then Warner Brothers split the bill, so they only paid for like half of it, and then the other half was paid by like other production companies. But yeah, I guess it would be cheaper. Trust the process. Exactly, man. Exactly. Swamp Thing is not gone, like Antonio was saying. It's just a director that there is a busy director. Exactly. James Mangold is busy working on a Star Wars movie. So, yeah.
If it's actually going to happen. We'll see.
We'll have to see. We'll see. A G.I. Robot is a surprise breakout. James Gunn saying, I didn't expect people to love him this much. He's like a terrifying cousin of Groot, which is, I think, a pretty accurate description.
But he's even better because he kills Nazis. We need G.I. Robot nowadays.
Yes, absolutely.
It has been many years since I sent Nazis back to hell. Anyway.
All right. As far as Peacemaker Season 2 goes, James Gunn confirmed that filming just wrapped. It picks up directly after Superman, the events of the show, saying Chris and Adrian are back, but this time it's personal. There's more emotion, more chaos, and he's even stupider, but the good kind of stupid. John, what do you think about this? A little more insight. I mean, we know that the filmmaking had wrapped. We kind of knew that it was going to pick up directly after Superman, but James Gunn still probably doing post-production on this. Are you more excited for the show? He's also talking about how the show will have a lot of DC overlaps. We'll see connections, but lost watching, you know, Peacemaker if he didn't see Creature Commandos or Superman. And that's something obviously James Gunn continues to say is really important to him. What do you think about both of these things that he said about Peacemaker?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much, again, that's like more of a confirmation kind of thing. So yeah, from the trailers, I
Thank
could
you,
guess
Nathan.
the emotion, chaos, and definitely the stupid part. So yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, in the chat, we've got Casey saying I was very skeptical of Waller, but now it's basically confirmed it's leading to checkmate. Why else would they have Sacha Bordeaux and King Faraday? You know what? That's a good point. That is a very good point, John. If we get to checkmate, that would be very, very, very fun, and definitely something that we wouldn't get if it wasn't James Gunn in charge. So, Chuck Cage saying I rewatched Iron Man and was hoping they kept his bum 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 soundtrack theme in all his MCU movies, like Cap kept his. Yes, the first one with the what was his name? Something Javadi, like Robin Javadi or whatever. The person who did the music for the first one. I really liked the first. Although I will say the AC/DC album for Iron Man 2 is one of the best, you know, score soundtracks any superhero movie's ever done. But I do. It was weird that Iron Man 3 completely went in a different direction. So I hope that there's continuity with Superman. I mean, DC movies always seem to have better music. Although, again, Marvel is doing really well now with Michael Giacchino. But then again, Michael Giacchino does the Batman music. So I'm sure we're going to get him back for the Batman Part 2, whenever that is. So, yeah. Exactly. I mean, look, Zack Snyder also wasn't trying to build a whole universe, quite frankly. He just wanted to do a few
He's just like
movies.
5 movies, and DC's like, what about a
Yeah.
universe? He's like, no, and they're like, yes.
And they kind of forced it, and it obviously we know what happened as a result of that. John, speaking of lanterns, James Gunn said that Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan are both leads. They have different perspectives, different trauma, but they need each other. It's definitely got the tone of True Detective in space, which was again interesting to hear, because this is, I mean, interesting to hear in the sense that we have heard it before. He also said that they auditioned together to test their chemistry, and their chemistry was fire. Sometimes it's not there. This time it was. So again, confirming that they've done, you know, a lot of work to make sure the two
Maybe not
actors work
fire,
well
but
together.
definitely light. Green light.
Maybe not fire, but maybe lit, as the kids will say. Yeah. Thank you, Hosea, for bringing us back. You're doing Caleb's work today in the chat, Hosea. We see you.
Yeah.
By the way, Nathan Fillion and Aaron Pierre auditioning together sounds amazing to me, because that means we're probably gonna get Guy Gardner and Jon Stewart together, which would be interesting. So I can't wait to see that. All right, so this is what I was mentioning earlier, that the DCU is in our Earth. There's no New York, there's Gotham, there's no Seattle, there's Evergreen. The world is fictional but grounded by emotional logic, not real geography, John. What other, you know, parts of the DC Comics universe would you like to see? Like, what other cities do you think we're gonna get in the DCU that, or, you know, again, like, do you think we're gonna get Los Angeles or Chicago, or is there a DC equivalent stand-in you'd like to see instead?
Yeah, I think I like, again, what I always liked about DC was, again, the feeling of it not being real, you know, like Metropolis being in like Delaware, you know, and I like how you know, Gotham is New York in this case, because usually Gotham is like, oh, it's in New Jersey or like something like that, but no, it's like this iteration of New York is Gotham, and I like that.
Right.
And it doesn't have like big, like, the way I imagined it, like Central City, I feel like would be in like this universe is like Denver. Like that's when I was like driving through Denver like years ago, like that's like I got that because I was like looking around, I'm like, this straight up looks like what I would feel Central City would be.
That's my theory, Chuck.
Like for instance, like
theory.
that's the vibe from like the Flash show a little bit. Like it's like this is like the vibe I get. And then like Boston could be like, you know, so like Midway City or something like that. And then instead of Philadelphia, it's Fawcett City, which is, you know, they already have like the Shazamly in Pennsylvania anyway, near Philadelphia. It's just make it Fawcett City, Philadelphia. Already a huge improvement on Philadelphia. So, just that would be the greatest thing. Getting rid of Philadelphia entirely already makes this world a trillion times better. So, I don't think so. I know Dan keeps saying this. I know other people keep saying this. I don't think Guy Gardner is that guy. Because, like, killing him off immediately would turn off so many people. Like, I know Guy Gardner is, like, not one of the, like, he's not Hal, he's not John. But, like, he's still a beloved part of the lore. So killing him off, like, immediately would be really dumb. And if the leaked stuff is anything to go by, he definitely isn't. So, we'll get into that maybe. Yeah, Bloodhaven could be in like New Jersey or something like that. And then like Opal City could be in like, like the Midwest somewhere. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I think that's more interesting of like the vibe of cities, but like doing it something like places out of time. Like in this case, like Gotham would be like 70s New York, where like it was dilapidated, graffiti everywhere, crack pipes in the fucking sidewalks, like that kind of shit. Like that would be awesome to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Gotham, Elseworld is staying, but it has to earn its place. So again, James Gunn addressing the whole Matt Reeves situation, saying you don't get an Elseworlds label just to be weird, it has to be excellent. And saying that, let Matt cook. No pressure. Let him do his thing. So, I mean, James Gunn is pretty loose with it on Matt Reeves' side. And then some of the other updates here, you got, of course, we talked about it. There's a personal favorite project of James Gunn that he has not revealed yet. And another one is in final scripting. One is something that he's currently writing, which is probably the next film. We have speculated maybe that's World's Finest. The unannounced one, we don't know what that could be. But none of these projects he's talked about were originally part of the slate. So a lot of new stuff going on. John, I thought this one is something you might be interested in, where James Gunn credited the creative brain trust of the DCU, including Tom King, your favorite, Christina Hodson, who wrote Birds of Prey and a bunch of movies, I think including
Christina Hodson and The Flash.
Yeah. So she's definitely worked on a few DCU projects.
Crystal Henry, who wrote the horrible Damon Lindelof Watchmen miniseries. The only hope is Jeremy Slater. He had Doom Patrol, and he's like the one guy chugging along
on his back. But I mean, James Gunn said that Tom King reads everything. He tells us when something doesn't feel like the comics, and we listen. So
why are you getting the fucking douche canoe who just became part of DC Comics like less than 10 years ago? Why not get like a veteran, like, Mark Waid, the guy you reference in your fucking movie, the guy who actually knows what he's fucking talking about, the guy who is still currently writing for DC and also wrote the greatest fucking DC story of all time, who you are using for your fucking universe. Why not use him? Well, instead of the douche canoe who's divisive at best and god awful at worst. It makes no fucking sense to me. I don't get why James Gunn is sucking this dude's dick. It makes no fucking sense. I don't get it.
Chuck still likes the theory of Nathan Fillion getting murdered at the beginning of Lanterns, which I'm like, you know what? That was my theory. I don't know. We'll see. But James Gunn said that he's no longer chasing shock or edge. I'm not ashamed of feelings anymore. That's new. This is the most sincere thing I've ever done. No sarcasm, no cynicism, just truth. John, what do you think he's talking about? Is he just talking about Superman, or is he talking about the whole DCU as a whole?
I think he's just growing as a creator. I think he's just like I'm not the like 20-something at Trauma anymore. And I think we saw that through, like, we saw like a journey through the Guardians movies. I wouldn't say the first one's like shock or edgy, but like it had some more juvenile jokes in the first. But then you get to the third movie, and even though it doesn't hit all those beats, like for instance, I prefer the first two movies, but the third one had a lot of emotional drive to it. And it was the most emotional out of the three and had the like darkest but a really sincere journey. It still had jokes like Adam Warlock and stuff like that. But I feel like the Guardians trilogy showed how much he grew as a creator, and now he's doing something that's really true.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why he decided to do Superman after Guardians 3, not just because like he was finishing up Marvel and now he's jumping over to DC, but like look at look at the Suicide Squad versus Guardians 3. The Suicide Squad, mainly shocky and edgy, but it still had like some kind of character driven stuff here and there. But like Guardians 3 is like, that was, I think, the ultimate push to, again, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that was the ultimate push to James Gunn finally realizing, like, you know what? I can make a Superman movie because I can do sincere feelings and emotion and character driven stuff like that I was showing here. So that's my headcanon. I could be wrong, but like that's like the vibe I get, and especially with what he's saying here.
Yeah. Well, the enterprising thing, definitely feel like Gunn has grown the more projects he works on. He has a signature style, but he's always trying something new, which is very true. We're seeing that, and he's admitting to it himself. I know we've kind of talked about the idea of death is final in the DCU. You know, he doesn't like bringing characters back, so it kills tension. If somebody dies in my stories, they're dead unless they're a robot. So I guess that means Nina Mazursky is dead, and we already know G.I. Robot is back, so... But the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about it briefly here, John, James Gunn said that the idea for Superman clicked while he was thinking about his traumatized rescue dog, of course, Ozu, talking about him saying, what if this scared, broken dog had superpowers like Superman? Would he still choose to help people? That was the emotional unlock for him, and that's how we, of course, have Crypto in the movie as well. We're going to do a deeper dive into Crypto and how they, made the Crypto for the movie, which, of course, is not a real dog, but he's based on a number of different real dogs. John, what are your thoughts on this again? James Gunn basing, the character and, again, even the emotional arc of Superman in a lot of ways on just his own dog, Crypto, or his own dog, Ozu, I should say.
I think that's a really interesting concept to unlock, because my dog was also a rescue, and she's like kind of this anxiety-stricken, little bit of a spoiled brat dog. Yeah. But it's like, you kind of look at her like, would she, like, in like danger, in like, if like somebody were like threatening us, would she still help us or would she not? So that's the thing you kind of think about, like, would, like, you, now I'm not saying this is like the reason why everyone gets a dog. It's like mainly for companionship, but it's also like, would your dog help you in the like eyes of adversity? And like, I think more often than not, then yes, unless you like train them to be this violent aggressor, which is like, fuck those people. But at the end, it's like, it gives us like a whole, again, the emotional unlock. I like that idea.
I love it. I mean, and then, John, when you look at it, like, we've got Superman on the way, Peacemaker coming out, and right after that, Lantern's coming out soon, Supergirl and Clayface next year. It really does look like the DCU is up and running proper, and Steven asking if we get a teaser for Lanterns by the end of the year, considering that they're going to finish filming later this summer. I personally, if I were to give you my opinion, Steven, I don't think we're getting a teaser for the show until early next year, or at least springtime, because unlike a movie, you don't really advertise a TV show like 4, 5, 6 months in ahead, right? I think we're going to get a teaser, but it's not going to be this year. We're probably going to have to wait until next year. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we're getting anything anytime soon for Lanterns. We're probably going to get something much later this year. Maybe around the time of like, maybe sometime in fall, late fall, early winter for this year. So yeah, mainly late. Because look at the first teaser we got for Superman. That was in December, and that comes around the same time. So we're probably going to get that. Think of that as a gauge of when we'll get something Lanterns related.
Yeah, we might get some promotional material, but I don't think we're getting a teaser till next year. But John, there are a few other things we want to get into with James Gunn before we get into Superman and Brazil, which of course includes James Gunn answering a few questions. Like somebody asked, is Lex Luthor going to scream, "Miss Tessmacher"? James Gunn said nope. So I guess we're not getting that in the movie. Which, are you disappointed by
Good.
that, or do you think that's outdated, or they shouldn't even try to replicate that from the Christopher Reeve
I think
movies?
that's a little bit too far. I think it's just like, yeah, it's kind of funny, but like it's a different relationship. Um she was like a secretary in the original movie and like a henchman here. They're in a relationship, so it doesn't really make sense for him to call her Miss Tessmacher because she's quote unquote more than that, even though to Lex she really isn't, but like to her it like kind of is. So it's like they're more, it's like a, you know, even relationship in terms of, you know, because they're in a relationship. So
I don't know, because
because,
figure
you know,
drawing,
he's bored.
he's bored. Exactly, exactly. And yeah, Ron, he's trying to make this Lex stand out apart on its own, which is fair. Which is fair. He's drawing inspiration, but not trying to replicate the same version of the character. By the way, I don't know if I've said hello to figure drawing, so hello figure drawing in the chat. Another question James gonna answer: will there be an explanation for Amanda Waller not being the director of Argus anymore? And he said in Peacemaker we will get that. John, your thoughts on that? I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. Do you think we're gonna get Amanda Waller
Yeah,
in
I
Peacemaker
mean,
season 2?
could have gathered that. I mean, she was, you know, that's kind of the Argus connected show, and she's Argus, so it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
I just wonder if we're gonna get a cameo with Amanda Waller. That would be interesting. But
The only
Leafy's
thing I can
Batman.
think of is like,
Yeah.
because obviously she was still in Creature Commandos, like she was still ahead. So it's like clearly it wasn't the events of Peacemaker season 1 because years happened. So I'm thinking like, yeah, they succeeded the mission in terms of like the chick not invading the world and killing all metahumans and all that. But like at the end of the day, the sanctions superhero team coming from Amanda Waller did kill the leader of another country. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna get booted for that and
Yeah.
maybe
Yep.
imprisoned.
Yeah.
So
Maybe. Yep. Makes sense. Um, he was also asked about the idea of, are we gonna see Batman in a different project before The Brave and the Bold? Or is that going to be the first introduction to the character? Of course, Clayface being the obvious, cameo that we can see. But James Gunn said, yes, we're going to see him for the first time in Batman: Brave and the Bold, and that's still the plan. We're not going to see him anywhere else before then. So it looks like DCU's Batman. We're going to have to just wait till he gets his own movie. John, do you think that's the right approach? That they shouldn't give him a cameo in Clayface or Superman, and just wait till we get Brave and the Bold?
yeah, I
Jim
think
just said yes. Yeah.
what?
James just
Oh, I
said
thought
with
you were
one word,
talking.
yes.
I couldn't hear you say James Gunn. I thought you were talking about the chat. Um, um. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He just said yes. So, like, I mean, that's kind of the obvious thing of like, yeah, Brave and the Bold, the Batman movie is going to introduce Batman. However, he just says yes. He just says that's the live action introduction. And I assume that's like the full like face and everything, a real actor, but like maybe he can like be in the shadows and just like kind of doing stuff like in the back, like they'll mention
Like a
Batman and that
silhouette.
kind of
Right,
thing.
right, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Also, because it kind of feeds into the arc. Like I was saying this before with like my personal choices for the character was this version of Clayface. He's going to be an actor, and I assume how they're going to do it is it's going to be like this like heartthrob kind of guy who's in like kind of not great movies, but he's just like there to like look pretty. But he's just kind of the pretty face actor, kind of like a Chad Michael Murray or something, and he can't break that mold, but he wants to continue making movies so that he has to do that. But he wants to be in like more like like movies with depth. So he just kind of, he doesn't know what to do, but then he gets the accident, and then the one thing he has is gone. So I assume that's going to feed into the arc of it all. So yeah, I mean, I think him being hot kind of makes sense, because it's not like the old school Basil Carlo kind of thing where he's like this monster actor and they're doing something like kind of like taking away like this thing he has, instead of like, oh, he's just a guy who was in this monster movie and they're remaking it, so I got to go crazy now. It's like, no, they're trying to like give it something more. That's how I assume it's going to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point, though. Like, it makes the downfall that much more emotionally engaging. So we'll have to just wait and see again how the story plays out. I mean, Mac Flanagan is a great writer, and I'm sure he's got a great story for us. I mean, speaking of great stories, Matt Reeves, there was a rumor in Puck News. They were saying that he was going to reportedly turn in the script for the Batman 2 today. Well, somebody asked James Gunn about that, saying, can you confirm that this is true? Where are you going to be getting the script from Matt Reeves today? And James Gunn said it's not true. Are you surprised, Sean, that
Nope.
we still don't
I
have
mean,
the
because
script?
James Gunn has said multiple times, he's like, oh, we're maybe expecting it soon, but he's still, but at the same time, he also said, I'm going to let Matt Reeves do whatever he needs for
Let
this
Matt
movie.
cook, as
So,
he said. Yeah.
yeah.
He's slow, he said too. So he's a slow cooker somewhere, he's just
Yeah,
letting it
slow
all
pressure
simmer,
cooker.
and it's all building up pressure. And anyway, we'll just have to wait and see how long it takes for the script to eventually become something that James Gunn can even read, to give him his notes and blah blah blah. Anyway, one of the other things I want to get into, John, is James Gunn was asked about how, how that barrel roll shot,
Mm-hmm.
apparently in one of the new promos is changed up a little bit. And somebody was asking him about that, and James Gunn said, I didn't remove the shot, I just changed out a particular take of the shot. So this is, of course, and look at the image, from one of the newer promos, and you can see this is a different looking shot than what we got in the original
Mm-hmm.
version we saw in like one of the teasers. So it looks like they had multiple versions. They just went with a different one where you don't get the cross-eyed look, which I'm like, fair enough. I'm good with that. I mean, John, we've also seen they swapped out. They did something with VFX with when he's getting hit by the can and he flinches, but then in the new version he doesn't. So yeah, this is kind of common in post-production. I'm not surprised. Are you surprised?
Mm-hmm. Nope. But this means that the movie's failing because they're changing shots from what was shown before. It means it's going to fail. It's going to suck. Even though, like, literally Marvel has, like, mismarketed their movies by removing people from finished shots in the movie, to the point that there is a legal precedent for you to sue if a movie is mismarketed. That's fine. But, like, if you, like, change a shot, or, like, just not have a certain shot in a movie, no, this movie's going to fail. It's going to suck. It's going to be terrible.
This is remember when the Batman came out, and there were two different trailers, and the one where he's like, what did you do, and he like slams his arm up against the window when he's interrogating, or he's talking to the Riddler. There were two different takes of that. There was one, and even in the movie they used a different take in the movie than they did in the trailer. So it's very common, because oftentimes what happens is movie trailer studios will get the footage and what they're working with the current version of the movie, as opposed to what is the final cut. And then with James Gunn, I mean, he has been directing, and producing all these trailers himself, but even then I think that he's got the ability to swap in any number of takes that they did of the shot, and it's totally okay that they do that, especially given that the movie isn't out yet. So I mean, now that they've got a picture lock on it, they're not going to be making any more changes. But yeah, it's good that we are seeing that they were looking at people's criticisms and then making adjustments along the way. Yeah, the Bane Deathstroke movie, Casey, is not even really a thing. I mean, it wasn't ever confirmed by James Gunn, so I don't even know if it's actually, and they were pretty coy about it when they were asked about it at the press event earlier this year. So I don't know. All right, John. Well, James Gunn also posted this clip from Frame Store, which of course is the VFX studio behind our Crypto in the movie, and it looks like Crypto isn't impressed with the robot number four's petting abilities. This was some test footage of seeing Crypto interact with. I think they had this looks like the I don't know if that's an animated version of Robot Number Four or the real one that they made in the move for the movie. Like they had like a animatronic version, but Crypto looks pretty real. What do you think? This is very much dog behavior. Like I'm used to seeing this every day with Zelda.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Baymax petting the cat in Big Hero 6, where he's like, baby. It's just like the way it's like robotic, and it's just like,
Yep.
it's very cute. Yeah, there we go. Enterprising furry baby.
I love it. I love it. This is perfect. I just love again how photoreal Crypto is and the motion, the interaction with all the other elements. This looks like as if Crypto was actually a real dog, I would totally believe it. Like, they've got all the details right. I love the CGI. But speaking of Superman, of course, they put out another little promo with the entire cast, asking us to meet them in Metropolis. Maybe there's more to it than that, as you can see here. A lot of Nathan Fillion talking, but we can't show you the audio or turn on the audio for you. But go check out this post on Superman's Instagram account. This looks nice. This looks fun. And again, this is more part of that like the viral marketing campaign that they're doing, which I think is helping again Superman generate a lot of buzz online, and that's exactly what we want to see. Everyone looks so happy. They do. We are happy to see them happy, and hopefully we'll go watch the movie and all be happy together. But John, we do have one more thing to get into before we end the show, and that is, of course, Superman. They're as we've been talking about Superman, of course, but we do have to get into the fact that they have hit their second stop on the world tour because they started off in Manila, and
World
now
tour.
and now they're moving their way across the world. This world tour is going to add up quite a few miles onto their bodies, but they flew all the way from the Philippines to Brazil, as like a as Dom Toretto would say, "Welcome to Brazil." And James Gunn saying hello to Brazil. John, James Gunn and Rachel Brosnahan in this photo with the Jesus statue. Um, there's lots more of that to come. I'm sure we'll talk about that in more detail. Your thoughts on again the world tour and how it's going? They were really just greeted with I don't know like thousands of fans in Manila. This looks a little more low key in comparison, but James Gunn is really happy to be back with his friends in Brazil. This is not the first time he's visited the country. Obviously, he was there for CCXP just very recently with John Cena for Peacemaker, and he's promoted Guardians movies there, Suicide Squad, and they pulled out the red carpet right next to the big iconic statue on the peaks of the mountains around Rio de Janeiro. John, what are your thoughts on Superman in Brazil? Is this going to be a big market for the movie?
Hell yeah. And
Yeah.
I could see just this the Snyder cultists now being like, wow, it's amazing that James Gunn, Rachel Brosnahan, and David Cornsweet all took a picture with Zack Snyder just behind them. I could see them, you know.
Zack Snyder just
Yeah, I could see them
like
doing
somebody's
that.
gonna Photoshop that shit.
Oh yeah, they're gonna fucking Photoshop it 100%. Like, oh wow, they took a picture with Zack Snyder behind them. Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. Enterprising and Elite Easy talking all kinds of crazy stuff. This is definitely we're getting to DCU Daily After Dark territory, but I mean dude. Yeah, have you seen the reactions for the 30-minute screener? Like they have shown in a lot of they showed it in Manila, they showed it at Cine Europe, and it looks like people are loving it. They're really loving it,
yeah.
and it looks
I
like the
mean, I've
movie
seen a
starts
couple
out with
tweets
that
here and
crypto
there.
sequence. So like Superman like lands in the ice and he's all bruised and battered, and so it starts off with that, and the reactions are just glowing. I mean, yeah, Enterprising. We've been reading up on this stuff and trying not to bring any spoilers into the show just yet, but yeah, it looks amazing. I mean, this by the way, this pose is literally what we got from Zack Snyder and his version of the Justice League. So like you were saying. But here,
Well, I was
here's
thinking,
a video.
Black Panther. As you could see, I am not dead. But
As you can see, I am not dead. The challenges are not over. Oh, I'm not. I'm gonna stop trying to appropriate the accent. But anywho, James Gunn and crew telling the folks to look up. They're in Brazil or Brazil. And they did some collaborator stuff too. You got the real soups in a group photo shot. They had during the day, they had a huge press event. Like, then they had a whole photo shoot. I'll see if I could bring that into the shows later in the week, John. But this is stop number 2 out of 6, was it? 6 or 7? Is it 7? Because we gotta count it, right? Like, let's count it one more time. You have, so they did Manila. They're doing Rio de Janeiro. They've got. I can't remember if London is next because
I know New York is one of them.
London, yeah. So there's London, there's Paris, there's L.A., then New York, and then Beijing. So that's 5. I feel like somebody tell me the math on that. Is it 6 or 7? 6 or 7 stops.
Yeah.
So what is inappropriate about what I said? You guys in the chat are talking about Brazzers. I'm not the one saying it. Okay, I guess I said it now. But anyway, John, do you think the Manila stop was much more iconic? Because in my opinion, I thought they had way more fun there. Like, they got the garlands around them with the Superman logo, and they had like all the cosplayers show up. I feel like this is much more low key compared to what they did there.
I love that comment. Bro is straight cheesing. Like, love that. But yeah, this is awesome to see. I will say, David is definitely wearing a better suit now. That fucking brown, it just like looks like someone like threw shit at him. Like, ugh, gross. Come on, dude. But like this one, very much more dapper. Very much better.
Yep. And you know what? I think what we're going to do, we're going to wrap the show up today on a question from Steven earlier. He was asking, did you guys go to the movie theater this past week? And did they have the popcorn buckets for Superman yet or Fantastic Four?
Not that I saw.
The movie theater, but I didn't see it. But John, you did go. Did you see any of the popcorn buckets out yet?
I still saw the Final Reckoning popcorn bucket apparently, and I saw the How to Train Your Dragon one, maybe a couple others, but I didn't see any of the.
Yes, we are fans, of course.
Superman or Fantastic Four ones.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Well, yeah,
Kyle is here.
Of course I am.
Late.
Of course.
A little bit late to the party, Kyle. I mean, we've been live for almost 2.5 hours, dude. I mean, thanks for joining in. I mean, look at that. John's internet is conking out a little bit. But anywho, one of the things that I think, John, we need to kind of take a note of here. It looks like Casey is updating his projection for Superman's box office. 3 billion Xanabatars. I don't know what that translates into US dollars, but that's going to be his new prediction. So just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, Lord, if I met David, it would take all my strength not to jump his bones. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Take all my money. You know what? I will probably put all my money down for like 5 different popcorn buckets. So there's that. I don't know who's cutting out. Who is cutting out? The chat will let us know. Chat, let us know.
I don't know if I've been cutting out or you've been cutting out. That's why I haven't been saying a word, because you've been kind of iffy on my end. But
yeah, who knows? It's guys, we have a heat wave going on in the Northeast.
My friend actually just saw Jurassic World Rebirth as the Regal mystery movie.
That's really cool. Fun fact on that one. Nice. All right. Well, with that, guys, I think we're going to wrap up today's show. That's all we had for you. I mean, there's a lot more, but we're saving a few things for tomorrow. I think we have Liz back on the show tomorrow. I'll confirm that with you guys. But then we have Liz a couple of days this week. And then we'll see if we can bring Bridget in later in the week. We'll have a lot more Superman stuff. We have a million other Superman merchandise things we picked out. We're going to be getting into more David Goyer talking about he still wants to do a Blade movie if Marvel asks him to. But I don't know. Marvel seems to have it covered. Even the Marshall Ali's like, call me Marvel, I'm ready. So where that's at, we're going to figure out. We're going to review Elio, talk more about, what went wrong with the movie. And of course, we will talk more about Superman and review more of the activities they got up to in Brazil. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thank you, John, again for a fantastic show. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on another episode of DCU Daily.